Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto and female Sasuke were forced into marriage, and became Konoha's strongest couple? Episode 1. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, after an unexpected political decision forces Naruto and female Sasuke into an arranged marriage, two lifelong rivals must learn to trust each other, or risk losing everything they hold dear. Now, let's start. Naruto Uzumaki squinted at the page in front of him like it had just personally insulted him. The textbook was thick, heavy, and painfully dull, a relic of the Ninja Academy days he'd barely scraped through the first time. The title, Advanced Shinobi Governance and Legal Frameworks, made his eyes glaze over before he even hit the table of contents. Uruka-sensei, he groaned under his breath, why are you doing this to me? He leaned back in his chair, the wood creaking beneath his weight, and flexed the bandaged synthetic arm that rested awkwardly across his lap. A strange hybrid of chakra engineering and old-school medical ninjutsu, the thing was both a marvel and a burden. Granny Tsunade and Sakura had done their best, poured in hours of work, intricate seals, and chakra thread, until what had once been a gory stump was now something usable. But it wasn't the same. He remembered waking up in the hospital after the Valley of the End battle, groggy and aching from chakra exhaustion, his body a mess of burns and bruises. What he remembered most though, was the emptiness. He'd reached for ramen with both hands and realized only one moved. Sasuke had been lying next to him, silent as stone, stubborn as hell. They'd both lost an arm that day, but Sasuke had refused the offer of a prosthetic outright. Said it was his burden to bear. Some poetic, guilt-drenched crap like that. Naruto hadn't taken no for an answer. It took a week to drag Sasuke to the medical compound. She kicked, punched, cursed, and at one point, bit him hard enough to break skin, but he didn't let go. I'm not letting you walk around half a person when you can be whole, he'd shouted through a black eye and a split lip. We didn't survive everything just so you could wallow in self-hate, you idiot. In the end, Sakura drugged her. Granny Tsunade strapped her down. Naruto watched over the whole damn thing, bleeding and smiling like an idiot. Now, Sasuke was in a dungeon, technically. More like a very fancy, chakra-sealed underground suite beneath the Hokage Tower. Her Sharingan eyes sealed with a special genjutsu lock developed by the Yamanaka clan, her arms bound in high-grade chakra restraints, layers of protective seals wrapped around her like bandages. Some called it overkill. Others called it mercy. Naruto just called it temporary. She was still an international criminal, after all. Couldn't exactly sweep the whole, tried to kill the 5 cage thing under the rug, no matter how much goodwill Naruto had stored up from saving the damn world. Her last stand in the land of iron had been nothing short of a catastrophe. She'd arrived like a storm, spouting some nonsense about centralized power and shinobi unity under a single ruler. After Kagaya and Madara, she'd become convinced the old system was broken beyond repair, and she wanted to burn it all down and rebuild. With herself on top. She'd fought like a demon, every strike precise, brutal. The Raikage had nearly lost a leg. The Tsuchikage still had nightmares. Mai Terumi's hair had caught fire, she hadn't forgiven that. Only Gaara, quiet, calm Gaara, had hesitated, had looked at Naruto with something like a question in his eyes and stepped back. The daimyos were rattled. The council was screaming for blood. Execution was on the table. It had taken everything Kakashi had, everything Naruto could bargain, threaten, and beg for, to stop it. He'd stared down angry Kage and stubborn nobles with that same stupid grin and said, "You want to punish her? Fine. But not with death. Not with erasing someone who chose to come back. And yeah, maybe it was unfair. Maybe it was favoritism. But it was Sasuke. Sasuke, who once protected him with her life. Sasuke, who who had cried alone in the dark for a family torn apart. Sasuke, who had tried to shoulder the world's hatred just so no one else had to. Who had gone too far. Done too much. Burned too many bridges. But Naruto had always been in the water, waiting on the other side, hand outstretched. Still, all that wasn't going to get him out of studying. He looked back at the book with a sigh and forced himself to read the same sentence for the third time. Something about Shinobi jurisdiction and land-specific tax policies. Ah. His stomach growled. His brain itched. His arm ached. He imagined Kakashi-sensei lounging somewhere in the Hokage office, flipping through one of those orange books with a lazy smile. That masked bastard had practically handed Naruto a to-do list a mile long and vanished behind bureaucratic smoke bombs. Naruto scratched his head, eyes drifting to the window. Outside, Konoha buzzed. Vendors shouted. Kids played ninja in the street. The village hidden in the leaves had never looked more peaceful. And underneath it all, in the belly of the tower, his best friend waited. They hadn't let him see her since the surgery. Said it was for his own good. Said she needed isolation, evaluation. Naruto had pushed, but not hard enough. Not yet. But the ache was building. Every day without her face, her voice, even her dumb scowl, made it worse. Still, he kept his head down. Because if he wanted to protect her, really protect her, he had to be more than just a hero. He had to be a leader. A man the world listened to. The Hokage. So he picked up the book, clenched his jaw, and started reading aloud. Chapter 3. The Shinobi Council and Legislative Authority in Post-War Konoha. One step at a time. The late afternoon sun cut golden slants through the blinds of the Hokage's office, warming dust motes that drifted lazily in the still air. Kakashi Hatake leaned back in his chair, eye narrowing slightly behind the edge of his ever-present book, the spine now forgotten against his gloved thumb. On his desk lay a freshly opened scroll marked with the seal of Kumogakure, bold, black ink, aggressive like its sender. His other hand rested on the report from Omegakure. A fragile mess, that one. After Nagato and Konan had fallen, the power vacuum left in their wake had become a festering wound. Various warlords, rogue rain nin, and ambitious petty lords had all tried claiming the ruins of AIM, but the people, traumatized, rain-soaked, and exhausted, refused to trust anyone beyond their borders. AIM was breaking apart, quietly and in pieces. And yet Naruto, stubborn as he was, had made a promise. A promise to Nagato. A promise to rebuild what was broken. Kakashi exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. He didn't blame the villagers for their mistrust. After being manipulated by Akatsuki, betrayed by both peace and war alike, they had locked themselves behind high walls and 100,000 rainy nights. No amount of leaf emissaries or humanitarian aid could pierce that shell. Not yet, anyway. But Naruto believed in it. Believed in them. And if Kakashi had learned anything from his student, it was that you don't bet against Naruto Uzumaki. Just then, the door creaked open. Shizune strode in, dressed sharp as always, dark eyes already apologetic. She carried a heavy parchment like a funeral scroll, rolling it out as she approached. The rakeage sent it, she said dryly. Again. Kakashi didn't need her to elaborate. He sighed, deep, tired, the kind of sigh that seemed to press years into his shoulders. Let me guess, he muttered. A heartfelt plea for unity and understanding. Shizune snorted. More like a blood-soaked tantrum. Kakashi skimmed the message. It was the same as before, thinly veiled demands for justice, wrapped in diplomatic language that fooled no one. The rakeage wanted Sasuke Uchiha's head on a plate. Or, barring that, her body in a cell. A Kumo cell. They want her Sharingan, Kakashi said flatly. That's all it's ever been. The rest is just window dressing. And her bloodline, Shizune added, voice taut with disgust. They want to breed her. Kakashi didn't say anything for a long moment. His visible eye hardened, gaze drifting past the edges of the scroll, toward something much darker. Kumo's always had a taste for bloodlines, Shizune continued, tone sharp now. They tried to kidnap Hinata when she was a child. Neji's father died because of it. Now this. Shameless, Kakashi murmured. He could already imagine the arguments. She's dangerous. She attacked the 5 cage. She's unstable. All technically true. All irrelevant. Because what the Raikage wanted wasn't justice, it was leverage. Kekkei Genkai. Military advantage. A weapon with the Uchiha name. And they're not alone, Shizune added, leaning forward. Iwa and Kiri have been whispering behind closed doors. Same concerns. Same suggestions. No one said it outright yet, but they're waiting. For a moment of weakness. For Naruto to lose his grip. For us to flinch. And the samurai. They remember the land of iron. She made fools of them at the summit. Killed a few of their number. Their pride's still bleeding. Kakashi closed the scroll with a flick of his wrist, setting it aside like a pile of garbage. He didn't need to reread the threats painted as diplomacy. What he needed was time, and time was running out. The only thing keeping them from taking matters into their own hands, Shizune said quietly, is Naruto. He saved them. He saved all of us. And they know it. Kakashi leaned forward, elbows resting on the desk, hands steepled beneath his chin. Then we use that, he said simply. His goodwill is currency. As long as he stands by her, they won't dare act openly. But we can't count on that lasting forever. We need a plan, Shizune agreed. No, Kakashi said, voice low. We need a decision. He stood, straightening his coat. The hat of the sixth sat idle on the shelf, untouched today. Some symbols weighed heavier than steel. Summon the counselors, he said. The elders. The clan heads. Even the civilian representatives. Tell them it's urgent. Shizune paused. It's really come to this. Kakashi met her eyes, calm and clear. Sasuke Uchiha is a threat. She's also a hero. A war criminal and a war survivor. We can't pretend she's not both. So we decide what she is to us now. Konoha's responsibility, or Konoha's liability. And if the council votes to hand her over. He didn't hesitate. Then we'll deal with that when it comes. But I won't let a decision be made in silence. Shizune nodded, bowing slightly. Understood. She turned to leave, but paused at the door. Naruto's not going to like this. No, Kakashi said, settling back into his chair. He won't. But he deserves to know what we're up against. And he'll fight harder because of it. The door closed with a soft thud behind her, and Kakashi let the silence settle around him again. Outside, the village hummed, peaceful, thriving, and oblivious to the storm creeping just beneath the surface. He reached for the AIM report again, but his hand hesitated. Instead, he stared out the window, eyes distant. The world had been saved, yes. But it hadn't healed. And wounds left untreated always fester. Naruto slouched over the book like it owed him money, eyes heavy, the words blurring into a meaningless string of bureaucratic nonsense. His synthetic arm throbbed dully beneath the bandages, tinged with chakra pulses that he still hadn't gotten used to. Every few minutes, he'd shift or scratch at it, fingers too numb or too twitchy to control. The paper smelled like old ink and depression. In the back of his mind, Kurama yawned loudly. You know, the fox drawled, you may have your dad's hair, but you're definitely your mother's idiot child. What kind of Hokage in training nearly sets himself on fire trying to cook rice? Shut up, Naruto muttered. And you read slower than a tree grows. If you didn't have chakra, I'd worry your brain stopped working altogether. Naruto was mid-eye roll when a knock came from the door. He blinked, surprised. Not many people came to his apartment without warning. He got up, cracked his shoulder with a wince, and shuffled over. As he opened the door, he was met with the soft sound of fabric shifting and the gentle scent of herbs and lavender. Hinata stood there, her hands twisting the hem of her jacket, her cheeks flushed pink beneath the long bangs that framed her pale face. She held a cloth-wrapped lunchbox in both hands, eyes flickering up to meet him for just a second before darting back down again. Hey, Naruto-kun, she said quickly, bowing slightly. I hope I'm not interrupting, Naruto blinked, then smiled, warmth creeping into his tired eyes. Oh, hey Hinata. Nah, you're not interrupting at all. Come in, come in. He stepped aside, but she hesitated on the threshold. I brought you something, she said, lifting the lunchbox like a shy offering. I made too much for lunch, and I remembered how busy you've been lately, so, I thought maybe you hadn't eaten. He took the box gently, fingers brushing against hers, and gave her a sheepish grin. Thanks, really. I've been so swamped with all this paperwork junk, I haven't had time to go out for food. And this arm, he flexed the synthetic limb with a dramatic grimace, still acts up sometimes. I burned a whole pan of eggs this morning. It smelled like the inside of Gai-sensei's training shoes. Hinata giggled softly, covering her mouth with her hand. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. If you want, I can bring food for you daily, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes locked on a fascinating spot on his carpet. Naruto blinked, caught off guard, then rubbed the back of his neck, bashful. You don't have to do that, you know. I mean, I don't wanna trouble you. It's not trouble, Hinata said quickly. I'd be happy to. Really? Naruto opened his mouth to reply when a sudden thud made them both jump. The sound had come from the window. He turned his head, and there, pressed awkwardly against the glass like a bird who hadn't quite mastered landing, was Sai. Naruto frowned. Why is he knocking on my window? Hinata blinked. Oh. Hello, Sai. She said, waving politely. Sai tilted his head, blinked once, then said with the grace of a thrown rock, who are you again? Naruto turned so fast it looked like he got slapped by the question. Oi. That's Hinata. You know, Hinata Hyuga. She was there, Sai. During the war. She saved my life. What's wrong with you? Hinata's smile faltered like a candle in the wind, and she looked down again, her voice quiet. It's okay. Sai remained expressionless. I see. I apologize. I have trouble remembering people who do not have distinctive features. Naruto looked like he was about to blow a gasket. She's got the freakin' Byakugan. That's pretty damn distinctive. Sai nodded thoughtfully. Yes. Eyes like a dead fish. Now I recall. What? Hinata, red as a tomato, looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. But Sai was already moving on. Regardless, Lord Hokage has summoned you, Naruto. It's urgent. I was told to come find you immediately. Naruto's frustration sputtered as the weight of those words hit him. His mouth closed. He set the lunchbox gently down on his desk, already reaching for his jacket. Thanks for coming, Sai, he said, more serious now. Tell Kakashi-sensei I'm on my way. Sai nodded once and vanished like a ghost, straight out the window again. Naruto turned back to Hinata, offering an apologetic grin. Sorry about that. Sai's, well, he's weird. But he means well. Kinda. Hinata shook her head quickly. No, it's okay. I should be going anyway. He looked at her, saw the flicker of sadness still clinging to her eyes, and hesitated. Hey, he said softly. Thanks again. For the food. And for coming by. She smiled. Small, but real this time. You're welcome, Naruto-kun. He watched her go, her steps quiet and a little too quick. Then he grabbed his forehead protector, slung his jacket over his shoulder, and took one last glance at the steaming lunchbox on his table. Guess I'll eat it on the way. Kurama stirred lazily in his gut. You better keep her. She's too good for you. Naruto didn't answer, but the grin on his face lingered as he leapt out the window after Sai. Naruto jogged up the stairs of the Hokage Tower, when tossing his blonde hair as the village bustled behind him, oblivious to the weight hanging above its hero's head. He rubbed at his tired eyes. Hinata's bento box had kept him from starving, but no amount of miso rice and sweet egg could brace him for the kind of summons Kakashi-sensei had sent. He reached the top landing where Izumo and Kotetsu stood on either side of the doors, like always. But they weren't their usual lazy, half-smirking selves. They didn't throw a teasing jab or a sarcastic comment about his latest stunt. Instead, both of them were solemn. Too solemn. Naruto slowed, furrowed his brows. Yo, he said, trying to sound casual. You guys look like someone kicked your cat. Neither laughed. What's wrong? Izumo shifted, uncomfortable. Kotetsu looked down at the floor. Nothing, Izumo muttered. All the best, hero. Hero. That word stung when they said it like that. Like it didn't mean what it used to. Like it couldn't fix what was coming. Naruto frowned. All right. He stepped past them and pushed open the doors. The Hokage's office was quieter than usual, and that was saying something. The walls, decorated with mission maps and old scrolls, felt tighter, closer. Like the air was holding its breath. Kakashi sat behind his desk in the center, Hokage robes pristine, face unreadable. Beside him, sitting with one long leg crossed over the other, was Lady Tsunade, arms folded, scowl carved into her face like stone. On the couch behind her sat Sakura, posture straight but hands clenched tightly in her lap. Shikamaru stood near the corner, his face drawn, eyes sharp and shadowed. Shizune lingered behind Kakashi's chair, face pale. It felt like a war council. Naruto stepped inside slowly. Yo, he greeted. Why's everyone here? Then he caught the look on Sakura's face. The tension in Tsunade's shoulders. The way Shikamaru wouldn't meet his eyes. He stiffened. Is it aim? Did they reject the aid offer again? Another civil war brewing. Kakashi shook his head. It's nothing like that. Naruto's voice hardened. Then what? Kakashi's single visible eye met his. Calm, steady, tired. It's about Sasuke. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Naruto's jaw clenched. He didn't need the rest. They want her execution, huh? No one answered. They didn't need to. Naruto's voice rose, angrier now, paced with frustration. She helped stop Madara. She fought Kagaya with us. Yeah, she was a dam, and yeah, she screwed up. A lot, but without her, none of us would be standing here right now. Kakashi didn't flinch. I know. I was at a virtual summit early this morning, he continued. The Shinobi Union, Raikage, Tsuchikage, Mizukage, and even some of the daimyo, have voted. They've declared her an international criminal and ruled for her immediate execution. Naruto's hands curled into fists at his sides. Those ungrateful bastards. Rage sparked behind his eyes. Not because they were wrong to fear Sasuke, but because they were cowards who wanted a clean, easy end to something they didn't understand. Killing her wouldn't bring peace. It'd just bury another mistake. But Naruto knew he couldn't declare war. Not for this. Not again. I read something in a book, he said suddenly, desperation giving way to inspiration. We can fake it. Say she's dead, executed or something, but we actually just keep her hidden. Safe. Somewhere remote. No one has to know. Tsunade scoffed. That's stupid, brat. Naruto's head snapped toward her. What? Why? Because secrets don't stay buried forever. And the second one slips, she'll be hunted like a stray dog. Do you want her looking over her shoulder every day of her life? Naruto growled low in his throat, slamming his real hand on Kakashi's desk. Then what? We can't just let her die. Kakashi closed his book, voice measured. I have a solution. Naruto stared. Quote. I'm listening. You're not going to like it, Kakashi added. And Sasuke might hate it more than anyone. Naruto took a breath. Will it save her life? Yes. Will she be free? Yes. Will she be hunted? Or used by someone else? Not if we do this right. Naruto nodded, jaw set. Alright, let's do it. Sakura blinked. Wait, don't you want to hear what the plan actually is? Naruto shrugged, eyes blazing with conviction. Oh, obviously, you know. I just figured I'd say yes first. Tsunade groaned. Kakashi leaned back in his chair, fingertips pressed together. You have to marry her. Naruto froze. Everything stopped. The air, the chakra, even Kurama in his gut went dead silent. I'm sorry, he said, blinking. Kakashi repeated, completely straight-faced. You have to marry Sasuke. Quote. 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 Naruto stared like he'd just been told to arm wrestle a mountain. Shikamaru muttered, man, this is such a drag. Wait, what the hell kind of plan is that? It's political, Kakashi said, calmly laying out the impossible. If Sasuke becomes your spouse, she legally becomes a citizen under your protection. Not as a shinobi, she'll be stripped of her rank and status, but as the wife of the hero of the war. No nation, not even Kumo, will challenge that. Not openly. And with you being the future Hokage. It'll be a diplomatic nightmare if anyone tries to touch her, Shikamaru finished. Naruto stared at the ceiling, trying to figure out how the hell his life had gotten here. He'd expected paperwork. Maybe a mission. Not marriage. And what about what Sasuke wants? He asked. She'll hate it, Sakura admitted. She'll probably try to kill you. It wouldn't be the first time, Naruto muttered. But she'll be alive, Tsunade said softly. Naruto rubbed his face. His hand dragged through his hair. Are we talking like actual marriage, or paper marriage? That's up to the two of you, Kakashi said. All I need is the signature and the ceremony. The rest is your problem. Naruto sat down hard in the chair across from Kakashi's desk. He had faced gods, monsters, the death of his mentors. He had held Sasuke's bleeding body in his arms at the Valley of the End. He had walked through hell for this world. And now, apparently, he had to get married to save it. Do I at least get a tux? Naruto leapt up from the chair like he'd been zapped. This is insane. I'm not doing it. Kakashi didn't flinch. Tsunade just raised an eyebrow. Shikamaru folded his arms. Sakura sighed, as if she'd seen this coming from miles away. I mean, come on. Naruto threw his hands in the air. Marriage. That's the best you could come up with. How does this even make sense? You're talking about shackling someone's life to mine just to make the paperwork go away. Technically, Shikamaru drawled, or shackling your life to hers. Not helping, Shikamaru. Kakashi steepled his fingers. It's not just paperwork, Naruto. It's diplomacy. You're the only person in the entire elemental nations who can stand between her and a death sentence and not start a war. No one would dare touch the woman married to the hero of the Fourth Great Shinobi War. Not the daimyo, not the cage, not even those vultures in the Land of Iron. Yeah, because I'm the cage. Naruto barked. You're basically putting a leash on her and wrapping it around my neck instead. That's the point, Tsunade said bluntly, arms crossed. To them, it looks like she's under control, safe, domesticated. A docile Uchiha housewife under the thumb of the man who saved the world. She becomes politically untouchable and you become the excuse. Naruto looked at all of them like they'd grown a second head. Domesticated. She's Sasuke Uchiha, not a damn puppy. You're not wrong, Kakashi said. But this gives her a legitimate position in the world again. Not as a shinobi, but as someone protected by the most powerful village. She won't be hunted. No one will be able to exploit her bloodline. And she'll get a shot at rebuilding her life. Naruto's fingers clawed through his hair. We're not even lovers. We're just friends. Best friends. That's all it's ever been. Do you think Sasuke is sexy? Tsunade asked casually. The room went dead quiet. Naruto gawked. What kind of question is that? You told me you liked C-cups, Shikamaru added with a shrug. There you have C-cups. Naruto whipped around. And Lord Jiraiya once told me you liked girls who weren't too tall, Kakashi said with a lazy smile in his eyes. Naruto looked betrayed on a spiritual level. Sakura piped up, surprisingly soft but cutting all the same. And you've always been obsessed with Sasuke. That wasn't just rivalry, Naruto. You chased her across nations. You nearly died for her. Multiple times. You never did that for me, and I proposed to you. Naruto winced. That one hurt. He rubbed the back of his neck, staring at the floor. This is ridiculous, he muttered. It's not like that. It's not. Is it? Tsunade asked, watching him sharply. Because for someone who claims they're just friends, you're awfully ready to risk your whole life for her. You were willing to get executed with her. You carried her broken body back from the Valley of the End like she was your whole damn world. Naruto didn't say anything. He couldn't. His thoughts were a wildfire. But what about Sasuke? He asked, finally, voice small. Her freedom. Her choices. Tsunade looked at him, something softer in her expression. Do you want a dead Sasuke, or an alive one? Naruto clenched his fists. His breathing was shaky. But, Hinata, she confessed to me. And, Kakashi asked gently. Do you even like her? Naruto opened his mouth. I closed it. I opened it again. Nothing. Sakura nodded to herself like she'd known it all along. You never liked Hinata that way. You like her as a classmate. Maybe even a teammate someday. But you never looked at her the way you look at Sasuke. I don't. He tried, but the words caught in his throat. Truth had a cruel way of cutting deeper than kunai. He looked terrified. Like some part of him had just cracked, and he didn't even know what it was made of until it splintered. But more than that, he looked trapped. Between duty and friendship. Between loyalty and something else he hadn't dared to name. Sasuke, he whispered. She'll never forgive me for this. No, Tsunade admitted. She probably won't. She'd rather die with dignity than be tied down like this. Then how do we? We'll convince her, Kakashi said. It won't be easy. But leave that part to us. You've already done enough. Naruto swallowed, hard. He looked up, eyes bloodshot with the beginning of something he wouldn't call tears. You're asking me to be her jailer. No, Kakashi corrected. We're asking you to be her sword and her shield. Like you've always been. Silence. Naruto shut his eyes, took a deep breath, and opened them again. Steady this time. No more excuses. I swear, he said, voice low and resolute, if she says no, I'll run. I'll take her and disappear. I'll hide her in the mountains or across the sea. No one will ever find her. I won't let them kill her. A long pause. Then, Kakashi said softly, is that a yes from you? Naruto nodded. If, and only if, she says yes. Darkness. It had been her world for days now, maybe weeks. Time didn't flow normally down here, in the pit beneath the Hokage Tower. The only light she knew came from the sound of footsteps and the occasional clang of metal trays. Her vision was sealed under thick visors, blinding both her Rinnegan and Sharingan. She wasn't sure if the seals over her hands were tight enough to cut circulation or if she was just numb by now. She didn't ask to use the bathroom, though she needed to. Uchiha pride was a cruel master, too proud to beg, too proud to speak. The guards outside were polite, silent. Not perverts, no. But men nonetheless. That alone was enough to keep her silent. Then came the hiss of a sliding door and the sharp scent of clean fabric. Two pairs of footsteps echoed in the silence. One familiar, dragging ever so slightly on the left. The other, softer, lighter, but burdened. Good evening, Sasuke, came Kakashi's voice, smooth and casual like they were meeting for tea. Hope you're enjoying your stay. She smirked faintly, even though her lips barely moved. As pleasant as a stone cell can be, she said. Not that I'm complaining. We're sorry, Sakura added, her voice hesitant. It's for the best. It's fine. Sasuke tilted her head slightly toward the sound. How's Naruto? A pause followed. The kind that tells you everything before anyone speaks. He's fine, Sakura finally said. Busy with his studies. Preparing for the Hokage seat. Sasuke nodded to herself. Of course he is. He always does what he says he'll do. Then her tone dropped, flat and sure. So, what brings you here? I doubt it's a social call. Kakashi chuckled awkwardly. You know us too well. I've known you since I was 12. You're not subtle. Just get to the point. Silence. Then a long, deep exhale from Kakashi. The Shinobi Union has reached a decision. About you. Sasuke's body didn't flinch. Her breath didn't hitch. She sat wrapped in that restraining cloth like a ghost inside a coffin. They want me executed. It wasn't a question. It was a fact. It was a prophecy. Yes, Kakashi said quietly. Declared this morning. Sasuke inhaled through her nose. Exhaled through her mouth. I see. And that was all she said. No outrage. No tears. Just cold acceptance, like she'd known this moment would always come. I tried to negotiate with them, Kakashi added. Why? She asked, and for the first time there was a trace of surprise. Because you're my cute little genin. Shut up, she muttered. Just tell me what you cooked up. Kakashi's voice turned serious. You will be stripped of your shinobi status. Permanently. Acceptable, she said. I figured as much. You'll be under 24/7 surveillance. She tilted her head, amused. Not surprising. Who'll be watching me? Someone from Kumo. Iwa. Mist. Naruto. Sasuke paused. That wasn't bad. In fact, it might be the only option that didn't disgust her. If anyone had to see her at her lowest, it was better it be him. She owed him that much, at least. When am I being released? Tomorrow. Fine. Thank you, Kakashi. There was a long beat. Then Sakura, quiet and uneasy, spoke up. You'll try to kill him. Sasuke blinked under the visor. Excuse me. Because, Sakura faltered. Because sensei did something you'll hate. There was a shuffling noise, like Kakashi waving his arms. Wait, Sakura. No, let me. Don't just drop it like that. Sasuke's voice sliced through the room like ice. What did you do? Kakashi went silent. Even the ever-chirpy Sakura struggled to speak. Sasuke spoke again, voice lower, colder. What did you do? A pause. Then finally, Sakura's voice, shaking with the weight of what she had to say. You'll be under Naruto's watch, 24/7. Not just as a tenant. Not just as someone under house arrest. Sasuke's breath caught. Then what? As his wife. The silence that followed felt like the collapse of a universe. For the first time in months, maybe years, Sasuke had no words. Her mouth opened but nothing came out. Her mind, so often sharp and ready, hit a wall it couldn't climb. Wife. The word didn't even register fully. She'd imagined death. She'd prepared for execution. But this was worse. This was life. Shackled to another. This was being turned into someone's something. A role, a position, a symbol to satisfy the fears of the world. Her lips trembled before they shut tight. Her fists, still bound, would have crushed bones if they could. And Naruto. Why would he agree to something like this? He wouldn't. He couldn't. Not unless. Her breath grew shallow, like the cell had shrunk and the air had vanished. When she finally spoke, her voice was like frozen steel. That idiot. That damn idiot. But her heart thudded just a little louder. Because deep down, she knew. Of all the ways to live again, being chained to Naruto might be the only one that didn't feel like a curse. Sasuke sat still in her bindings, silent as a tomb. So, she finally said, voice devoid of weight, if I refuse, I die. That's it, right? Yeah, Kakashi replied quietly. There was no dramatics, no softening of the truth. He knew better than to insult her with lies. Sasuke tilted her head back slightly, visor pressing into the wall behind her. Cold stone against her scalp, cold steel wrapped around her pride. It should have made her feel something. Anything. But there was just stillness. It made sense, in a way. She hadn't planned on living this long anyway. She had lived her life by the edge of her blade, in shadows and vengeance. She had gutted every joy she might have had with her own hands. She killed the brother who died with a smile on his face, not for his own peace but for hers. And even after knowing the truth, what did she do? She waged war on the very people he protected. She'd turned her back on everyone, Kakashi, Sakura, the entire village. Even Naruto. Naruto. She tried to kill him too. More than once. And still, he came after her. Every single time. He lost his hand in their final fight. If it weren't for Tsunade and Naruto's own relentless spirit, he might have been disabled forever. And what had she done to deserve that loyalty? Nothing. No, worse than nothing. She had spat on his friendship, thrown his love back at him, laughed in the face of every hand he extended. And now they wanted to give her back alive. With him. She wasn't blind to her sins. She wasn't deluded enough to think herself worthy of mercy. And even if she survived, married, freed, what then? The world would whisper behind her back. Some would shout it out loud. The murderer. The traitor. The monster Uchiha. There would be no peace. Only tension. Only suspicion. And Naruto, he deserved someone radiant, someone kind. Someone who hadn't drowned the world in blood. Not someone like her. She wasn't even that pretty. She was scared. Emotionally twisted. Riddled with regrets and guilt. Her body was lean and sharp like a blade, not soft and inviting like the girls Naruto could easily have if he wanted. And emotionally. She didn't know what love even looked like anymore. Let alone how to give it back. As if reading her mind, Sakura leaned forward, voice clear and cutting. "You're thinking too much," she said. "We all know that Naruto's always been obsessed with you." Sasuke flinched. That word, obsessed, landed like a stone in her gut. Who else, Sakura continued, would chase a friend across the world? Get beaten by some random range shinobi while already bleeding out, just because he wouldn't give up on you. Kakashi's voice followed, calm as ever. Who else begs the Raikage on his knees not to kill a friend? And almost starts a war just to keep you alive. You didn't have anyone, Sakura said softly. But he was always there. Even when we gave up, he didn't. Sasuke's mouth twitched. That doesn't make it love. He's just a fool. You were his first kiss, Kakashi added, teasing just enough to break the heaviness. That was an accident. Sasuke snapped, actual heat rising to her cheeks for the first time in gods she didn't even know. In the academy, yeah, Kakashi said, amused. But it still counts. And you were his too. I'd bet my pension. Sasuke grit her teeth. That means nothing. Then why do you care? Sakura said gently. Why haven't you just told us to get lost? Sasuke had no answer. And in that silence, the weight returned. Thicker. Heavier. Kakashi's voice was no longer playful. We don't have much time. The union wants a decision. What is your answer? The air in the cell turned brittle. Sasuke turned her face away slightly, the side of her cheek pressing to the inner lining of the visor. The quiet stretched out until her voice finally reached them, steady and soft. Give me a night. Kakashi nodded. All right. But remember, Sakura added, kneeling slightly closer, her hand ghosting near Sasuke's restrained fingers, if anything happens to you, if you give up now, everything Naruto endured for you, every sacrifice, would become meaningless. He'll suffer more than anyone else, Kakashi said, solemn now. Again. They stood, their footsteps echoing as they retreated. The cell door creaked closed behind them, locking the silence back in with her. Sasuke sat there, still swaddled in her bindings, alone in darkness. And for the first time in years, she felt something crawl into her throat. No regret. Not fear. But something small. Something tender. A flicker. And it sounded just a little like, Naruto. Naruto sat on his futon, elbows resting on his knees, face buried in his hands. The lunch Hinata brought sat untouched on the table, growing cold beside the half-read textbook Iruka had guilt-tripped him into tackling. His new arm, still wrapped in cloth and chakra-weaved bandages, twitched occasionally, unfamiliar and awkward. The prosthetic didn't ache, but everything else did. His brain, his chest, his damn soul. Marry Sasuke. The words still echoed like a bell rang too close to his head. What the hell is going on with my life? He let out a slow exhale and leaned back, staring blankly at the ceiling. The cheap plaster above him cracked slightly in the corner. He had fixed it once. A poor job. Like he was doing with everything else lately. And then, you're not seriously considering this idiocy, are you? Naruto jumped slightly, blinking. Kurama's deep growl rang from inside his head, louder than usual, filled with actual concern this time, not the snide jabs or bored rumbles Naruto had grown used to. Damn, you're louder than usual. I should be. You're about to ruin your life. You want to tie your fate to an Uchiha. Haven't they done enough damage? Naruto didn't answer. He just rubbed his face, groaning. Listen, Kurama continued, his tone surprisingly not sarcastic. I get that you're emotionally compromised, but there has to be another way to keep her alive. Marrying her isn't the only route. Let's think this through like Shinobi for once. Naruto blinked. Kurama being rational. This was weird. You got something better then. He muttered aloud, arms crossed, jaw set tight. 'Cause I sure as hell don't. Plenty. For starters, fake her death. Use a transformation jutsu, a shadow clone, stage an execution. Fool the Union, let her disappear forever. Naruto hesitated, then shook his head. That was my first idea, remember? Tsunade said that was dumb. Everyone's watching Konoha right now. The moment we announce she's dead, someone'll demand a body. DNA, chakra, something. You think I can trick Gaara? Hell, I can't even lie to Shikamaru. Kurama growled again. Fine. New plan. Let her defect. Say she escaped custody. Make her a missing nin again. Nope. Naruto cut him off. They'll send Hunter Nin. From Kumo. From Kiri. She won't last a week. Especially not with her chakra sealed and eyes blocked. And if they catch her. Execution. Or worse. Kurama clicked his metaphorical tongue. Alright, then what if you declare her your personal vassal? Use your status. You're a hero. You've got influence. Say she's your responsibility, like a parolee. No marriage required. Naruto sighed, rubbing his temples. They already shot that down too. Said it was too risky. I'd have to be with her constantly. Not just living with her, but responsible for her behavior, her every move, her every word. If she even sneezes the wrong way, they'll use that as an excuse to overrule it. But if she's my wife, then it's different. They'd be forced to respect the bond. They can't just override a legal marriage between two Konoha shinobi. Kurama's chakra rumbled low, angry. Marriage. What a stupid tradition. You humans cling to such outdated nonsense. Yeah, well, Naruto mumbled, dragging a hand down his face. Humans built the world we live in. I don't get to ignore it, even if I save it. Kurama fell quiet for a beat. Then he said, why not just take her and run? Naruto raised an eyebrow. That's your great idea. Run. You want me to become a missing nin. Why not? You've survived worse. You can handle whatever the world throws at you. Naruto snorted bitterly. Yeah. And destroy the peace I fought for. Let the shinobi union collapse just because I wanted to save one person. One person, Kurama echoed, softer now. Another silence. Then, quote dot dot dot. It's not just one person, to you, is it? Naruto's breath caught. He didn't answer. I didn't need to. Kurama huffed, something like a sigh. I've been in your head too long, idiot. I can feel it. That ache. That pull. You want to save her, not just because she's your friend. You love her. You always have. Naruto flinched. Shut up. Don't act like it's shameful. I hate the Uchiha as a rule, but you, he paused. You've always been different around her. Even when she wanted to kill you. You'd die for her. Again. No hesitation. I'm not in love with her, Naruto muttered, a little too fast. You're the world's worst liar. He groaned and let himself fall backward on the futon, arm draped over his eyes. I'm not even sure what love is, alright. He mumbled into the quiet. All I know is, if they kill her, something inside me is gonna die too. I feel like I won't be able to breathe right anymore. Kurama was silent again, but Naruto felt the fox's chakra settle low in his chest. Not hostile. Not mocking. Just present. Then Kurama said, quieter than Naruto ever heard him speak. Then marry her. Naruto blinked. What? If all other roads lead to her death, and this one leads to her life, what are you still afraid of? Naruto's throat tightened. Kurama snorted. It won't be easy. You're both damaged. You're both stubborn. But if you really care about her, you'll make it work. Don't marry her because they told you to. Marry her because she's the one person you'd break the world for. Even if she breaks your heart in the end. The room felt smaller suddenly. The words hit too hard. Naruto swallowed, fingers curling around the edge of his shirt. You're really soft sometimes, you know that. TCH. Don't get used to it. Stupid monkey. Naruto closed his eyes. The thoughts wouldn't stop swirling, but there was at least one thing he knew for sure now. Whatever Sasuke decides tomorrow, it would decide everything. The door creaked open with a whisper of hesitation. Hinata peeked in, clutching the warm dinner box close to her chest. The scent of miso and grilled tofu drifted softly from within. Comfort food, her best attempt. The room was dim. Naruto sat on his futon, shoulders slouched, eyes blankly fixed on the ceiling, lips murmuring words she couldn't quite make out. His tone was low, soft, but animated, as if arguing with someone. Maybe if I fake a transfer of jurisdiction, no one would believe that. Maybe if I. She froze. Was he talking to someone? There was no one else in the room. Just him, the silence, and Kurama. Hinata took a quiet step back, guilt immediately rising. Eavesdropping is wrong. Her gaze landed on the lunchbox she had brought earlier. Still there. Still untouched. Cold. Her chest tightened. She cleared her throat gently. Naruto flinched, blinking wildly as if yanked out of a dream. He sat up fast, then offered an awkward wave. Hey, Hinata. Sorry, I didn't. Here you come in. I knocked a few times. Her voice was soft, concerned. You didn't eat lunch. Oh, yeah. He rubbed the back of his neck, guilt blooming across his face. I've been kind of not okay today. Is something wrong? She asked, stepping forward. I brought dinner too. I thought you might be hungry after training or reading. Naruto gave a faint smile, but it faded quickly. Thanks, Hinata. Really. But I don't think I can eat right now. Her hands tightened on the box. If there's anything I can do, even a little, please let me help, she said gently. You look like you've been carrying something heavy. He hesitated. She stepped closer. Naruto-kun. He exhaled, long and shaky, before nodding. You're kind, Hinata. Too kind. All right. I'll tell you. She sat down, eyes wide with worry, clutching the lunchbox like an anchor. Naruto spoke slowly, voice low but steady, like each word cost him more than it should. It's about Sasuke. Hinata's breath hitched. Sasuke-san. The nations. They want her executed. Even after everything. After fighting Madara. Helping seal Kagaya. They still think she's a threat. He looked down at his hands. And maybe she is. But I can't let them kill her. Hinata blinked. Lord Hokage. Kakashi-sensei. He negotiated something. A condition. Something that'll stop the Union from demanding her head. He paused, like the words themselves refused to leave his throat. Hinata tilted her head. What? What condition? He finally looked her in the eyes. I have to marry her. Silence. Crushing silence. Hinata stared. Frozen. The lunchbox slipped slightly in her hands, clutched tight enough to hurt. Naruto marrying Sasuke. Her mouth opened, then closed. She tried to find words, but nothing came. Her heart was thudding so hard she could barely hear. I'm sorry, Naruto stammered. It's not what it sounds like. I didn't want this, not like this. It's just to protect her, I swear, Hinata. I'm not trying to. And then, with a shimmer of golden chakra, Kurama's head formed behind Naruto. Glowing eyes, sharp fangs, low and terrible voice. You've admired Naruto since childhood, he said, the words cutting like wind through autumn leaves. That admiration became an obsession. Then love. But have you ever asked yourself if he loved you? Kurama. Naruto barked, horrified. Shut up. No, the fox growled. You shut up, Naruto. I've watched you too long enough. Listen, Hyuga, hate me all you want, but I'm telling the truth. Naruto has always loved the Uchiha girl. Even if he doesn't say it. Even if he doesn't understand it yet. It's not just a duty. It never was. And you. You deserve someone who loves you back. You should accept this. And move on. The head dissolved into golden mist. Hinata stood, face pale, lips trembling. Her eyes shimmered. Is that true? Naruto looked down. I never meant to hurt you. Hinata didn't wait for more. She turned, tears trailing silently down her cheeks as she ran out, the dinner box still clutched in her arms. Damn it, Kurama. Naruto whispered, heart tight. You'll thank me later. Naruto had never known time to drag like this. The Hokage office, once a familiar place of scrolls and chatter, felt like a battlefield now. He paced in tight circles, glancing up at the portraits on the wall. The first smiled warmly, eternally kind. The second looked stern, judgmental. The third, ever wise. The fourth, his father. Silent. Still. Naruto stopped in front of him. Dad, got any advice? The carved wood said nothing. Didn't think so. The door clicked. Kakashi stepped in, for once not fashionably late, his face unreadable behind the mask. He went to his desk, sat down, and immediately flicked 2 fingers. An Anbu appeared like breath fog on glass, silent, masked, respectful. Escort Naruto to the dungeon, Kakashi said simply. Naruto blinked. Wait, you're not coming, sensei. No. Naruto's mouth opened, then closed. He sighed and followed. The Hokage Tower's lowest floor was colder than he remembered. The Anbu walked ahead, his footsteps quiet but decisive. Naruto tried to lighten the mood, just a little. So you've never been married. Silence. No. Okay. Know any good conversation starters for criminal warlords? Nothing. Dude, come on, even Sai gives better company. The Anbu stopped. A gate loomed ahead. Thick iron bars. A flicker of chakra as seals lifted. Inside, the cell was dim. Damp stone, silence, and her. Tied like a silken cocoon, her entire body encased in a restraint seal wrap from neck to toe. Visors sealed her Rinnegan and Sharingan. She tilted her head at the sound of steps. Naruto. He winced. She recognized me by my footsteps. Hey, Sasuke. Hope you had a nice sleep. No answer. Of course not. How's the hand? He raised his bandaged prosthetic awkwardly, flexing it. I'm still getting used to mine, he added sheepishly. How's your arm? Idiot. Her arms were bound. She couldn't even twitch. He looked around the cell, desperate for something. So, nice cell. He offered weakly. A long silence. Quote. Stop fooling around. Yeah, sorry. You know. He rubbed his neck. So, what's your answer? And hey, it's fine if you disagree. Seriously. We'll fake your execution. I have this crazy plan. Smoke bombs, a clone decoy, I can hide you underground for years. I swear I can pull it off. Just say the word. Quote. Naruto. Yes. After a lot of consideration, she said slowly, I have decided to. Of course. He braced for it. Decline it. Obviously. What was I thinking? I'm such an idiot, she'll never. Accept Kakashi's alternative. Naruto stared at her. His jaw dropped. What? Naruto stood there, mouth open, limbs awkwardly stiff, the damp air of the cell clinging to him like guilt. His voice came out brittle, too quick. Sasuke, you don't have to force this on yourself. I can figure something else out. I swear, I'll keep you alive. I'll take you to AIM. No one's gonna look for you there. I can give you a new look. Cut your hair, dye it, maybe even an eye patch or something cool. No one'll recognize you, you know. You can live a quiet life, safe, far away from all this. Sasuke turned her head slightly, the visors still covering her eyes. But her voice was razor clear. Quote. Am I a burden to you, Naruto? What? No. Of course not. You're my best friend, you know. Her voice was low. Do you hate me? For trying to kill you? For the war? No. He cut in before she could spiral further. Never. I understand why you did what you did. Doesn't mean I agreed, but hate. No way. I forgave you a long time ago. Then, she said softly, I accept the marriage alternative. Naruto nearly tripped over his own thoughts. Wait, hold on. You don't have to be that hasty, okay? I mean, I'll make sure you live without marrying me too. We don't have to jump to that. I can fake your death with a shadow clone. I've done it before, we can. I calmly made this decision, she said, her voice composed but carrying a faint, tired weight. But if you don't want to marry me, that's fine. I'll go along with your escape plan, then. He froze. Why did her voice sound so bitter saying that? His throat bobbed. He scratched the back of his head, heart pounding against his ribs like a prisoner begging to be let out. Are you sure, Sasuke? I mean, we're just 17, and I'm 18, she said bluntly. Naruto blinked. Wait, what? You're 2 months younger than me, she continued calmly. And yes, I'm sure. He rubbed his temples. Kyuubi chuckled dryly inside him. Congratulations, Naruto. You just proposed to the Uchiha. I didn't propose. You paced, fumbled, and panicked. And still managed to get a yes. You're hopeless. But at least she's hopeless. Naruto groaned. This is really happening, huh? Sasuke, her voice cool as ever, just said, apparently. Steam rose in lazy swirls from the ramen bowl as Naruto slurped half-heartedly, noodles slipping from his chopsticks and falling back with a wet plop. He stared into the broth like it might tell him what the hell to do with his life. Ayame finally leaned over the counter, wiping her hands on her apron. Naruto, are you okay? You're eating ramen like it's sake. That's not how you eat ramen. Chuki grunted behind the stove. You've been muttering to yourself for 20 minutes. What happened? Some mission trouble. Naruto let out a long, suffering sigh, chin nearly sinking into his bowl. Quote. I'm getting married. Both Ayame and Chuki froze. The sound of the ladle slipping from Chuki's hand echoed like a shuriken striking wood. Ayame blinked. Quote. Come again. I said I'm getting married. Naruto repeated, his tone halfway between disbelief and despair. Now. Ayame slammed her hands on the counter. You're 17. Tyuki narrowed his eyes. Did you knock a girl up, Naruto? Naruto choked on his broth. What? Ayame was suddenly in his face, grabbing him by the collar. Who is it? Who's the poor girl? Who's the mother? What are you talking about? Naruto yelped, squirming. What does knocking up even mean? It means you impregnated someone. Ayame said, cheeks red with fury. Naruto froze. The world froze. Even the noodles stopped steaming for a moment. What? He shouted, wrenching himself back. I'm a virgin. And it's not like that at all. Tyuki raised an eyebrow. Then what the hell kind of marriage is this? Naruto groaned and buried his face in his hands. It's just that, Sasuke was gonna get executed. And to save her, I have to marry her. Ayame blinked. Sasuke. As in Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto nodded solemnly. Tyuki whistled. You always did have strange tastes in friends. It's not like that. Naruto yelped. We're not even together. This is just political ninja bullcrap. They think if I marry her, she'll be tied to the leaf and won't be a threat. It's all strategy. Ayame crossed her arms. And you just agreed. I had no choice. It was either that or let her die. I couldn't just let them kill her. Tyuki gave a thoughtful grunt. HMPH. You're doing it for her sake, then. To protect her. Naruto nodded, face serious now. Ayame narrowed her eyes. But are you ready for that kind of responsibility? Marriage ain't just a legal jutsu. It's a lifelong mission. Naruto's eyes widened. I don't know. I just didn't want her to die, you know. A pause. Tyuki ladled another bowl and slid it in front of Naruto. Then eat. Eat until you find your answer. Because you can't protect anyone if you're running on empty. Naruto stared at the ramen. Then, slowly, he picked up his chopsticks. I just hope she doesn't regret saying yes. Ayame leaned forward again, this time gentler. Then make sure she never does. The iron cell door creaked open. Dim light from the hallway spilled onto the stone floor as Ino stepped in first, her expression unreadable. Behind her came Sai, face calm but eyes alert, and 3 Anbu, masked and silent, attention in the air like drawn wire. Time to get you out of the sack, Ino muttered, kneeling beside Sasuke and placing her fingers in a seal. One by one, the restrictive jutsu seals burned away into soft blue light. Chains clinked to the floor with a final thud. Sasuke didn't say a word. She flexed her wrists slowly, testing muscle, bone, ligament, everything stiff but intact. Her arms arched back with a few satisfying cracks of joints being reminded they exist. She rolled her neck. More cracks. She stood, her legs unsteady only for a moment. Sai offered a brittle smile. Don't try anything funny. We have orders to restrain you. Sasuke didn't even glance at him. She straightened her back, reasserting poise, her silence sharper than any kunai. Ino made the seal for mind-body switch, then nodded a moment later. She's clean. No mental traps or traps. Then she pulled out fresh clothes, dark navy pants and a simple gray blouse. Put these on. You're getting an upgrade. Where are you taking me? Sasuke asked as she changed, unbothered by their presence. You'll be held in the Hokage's guest room. Under surveillance. A few days for evaluation, then, Ino hesitated, your new life begins. Sasuke nodded silently. Once fully dressed, Sasuke followed them out. The dungeon hallway was cold and silent. But once they reached the tower's upper levels, sunlight poured across the marble like a forgotten blessing. Sasuke squinted slightly, the brightness nearly stinging. Even still, 4 Anbu surrounded her, 2 flanking behind, 2 ahead. Ino walked beside her, arms crossed. You know, I never thought the girl we all admired would end up marrying the class clown. Sasuke's eyes twitched. She didn't turn her head. Oh, don't give me that look, Ino teased. Just saying, Naruto's fan club is gonna be pissed. I can already picture some of them trying jutsu-fueled black magic to curse you for stealing their golden boy. Sasuke's fingers twitched subtly. A faint flare of chakra prickled behind her eyes. He has fangirls now. Ino smirked, sensing the ripple. Oh yeah. Fan club, merchandise, a weird gossip scroll called Uzumaki Weekly. War hero, remember. He's practically the Leaf's golden flame. Sasuke's lips were neutral, her expression unmoved, but her gaze narrowed ever so slightly. Fan club. Of course he'd have one. Idiot. They reached the guest quarters, a modest but elegant room with a tatami floor, a low table, and a futon already laid out. Ino led her in and gestured vaguely. You're not allowed to leave the room without an escort. You'll be watched at all times. Don't try to suppress your chakra, you'll trigger a response seal. No summoning animals, no seals, no scrolls. No escape. Sasuke scanned the room. A moment later, her Sharingan flickered to life, just briefly. 6 chakra signatures, all female Anbu. Hidden poorly. Probably intentional. Ino stepped back. Try not to kill your wedding guard detail, okay. Sasuke ignored her. She walked calmly to the low table, picked up the Konoha daily, and unfolded the front page. There it was. A smiling Naruto, giving a peace sign beside Kakashi. The headline. Peace hero Naruto Uzumaki soon to wed. She stared at it in silence, then turned the page. Sat down. Crossed one leg over the other. And began to read. The academy was a storm. Naruto had barely stepped into the courtyard when the kids swarmed him like bees on honey. Especially the girls. Mini tornadoes of curiosity, excitement, and chaos. Naruto-sensei. Is it true you're getting married? Who is she? Is she pretty? Did you knock a girl up? Is she older than you? Was it Sakura? Or maybe Ino? Naruto's eyes twitched. What does knocking up even? No. I didn't knock anyone up. More questions. Screams. Blushing. Laughter. A feral game of Guess the Bride broke out. Clone Jutsu. Poof. One unfortunate shadow clone was left to manage the chaos, doing crowd control with a forced smile and barely concealed panic. Naruto made his escape into the building. He weaved through the halls, stopping at a familiar door. Uruka's office. Inside, the older man sat stiffly, eyes glued to the front page of Konoha Daily. That damn headline again. Peace hero Naruto Uzumaki soon to wed. Uruka's brow was furrowed deep enough to crack stone. As Naruto stepped in, Uruka stood abruptly. Naruto. What is the meaning of this? Why are you getting married? Who is she? Why so soon? Did you knock a girl up? Is she older than you? Is it Sakura? Ino? Someone from your peers? Or someone else entirely? Sensei. Please. Naruto flailed his arms, red in the face. Calm down. Uruka's eyes narrowed. Explain. Naruto scratched the back of his neck. It's Sasuke. A pause. Dead silence. Uruka blinked. Quote. You knocked Sasuke Uchiha up. Gah. No. Would everyone stop saying that? I didn't do anything. It's just, she's being targeted for execution. The nations are paranoid. But Kakashi-sensei got them to agree to spare her if she gives up her shinobi status and becomes a civilian wife. So, they picked me. Uruka stared, lips parted slightly. I had a plan, you know. Disguise, fake death, smuggle her out to me. But she accepted the damn proposal. Uruka sank back down into his chair. That's heavy, Naruto. And how is she taking it? Naruto shrugged helplessly. Calm. Cold. Like usual. I can't even tell what she's really thinking. There was a long beat of silence, filled only by the distant laughter of kids through the windows. Anyway, Naruto muttered, rubbing his arm, the wedding's tomorrow and, I was wondering if you'd be my dad figure. You know, for the ritual part. Uruka stared. Then his throat moved as he swallowed hard. His hands clenched on the desk. And finally, his voice broke as he said, softly. Yes. Sasuke sat quietly, back straight, legs folded beneath her, the silence of the guest room a strange thing, so different from the hush of a battlefield, or the quiet of morning. This silence was gentle, too gentle. It gave her thoughts the space to wander. Her mind drifted to the faint scent of camellias and steaming rice. A memory. Her mother, Makoto, combed her hair when she was just a child, tiny, stubborn, and fierce even then. Tell me the story again, little Sasuke would say. Makoto would chuckle, brushing gently through tangled locks. The one about the prince. Yeah. The one who comes riding on a white fox. The one who saves the princess and they live happily ever after. You want to be the princess? No way. Her younger self had huffed, arms crossed. Princesses just sit there. I wanna be the one with the sword. Then maybe you'll save the prince someday. Okay. Then I'll save Big Brother. You can't marry your own brother, Makoto had said gently, laughter in her voice. Why not? Big Brother is like a prince. And he lets me ride on his shoulders. Maybe someday you'll find someone like him. PFF'd. No way. He's the best. No one's like Ni-san. Makoto had smiled then. Soft. Wise. As if she knew something even time hadn't dared to whisper yet. But now, sitting here years and scars later, Sasuke couldn't help but smirk bitterly. If only that little girl knew. That her future wasn't a grand palace or a battlefield of honor, but this. A guest room turned into a holding cell. Surveillance in the walls. A marriage out of diplomacy. A husband-to-be who once shoved noodles up his nose when dared. The kid who used to yell about ramen and Hokage in the same breath. The boy who, in winter, always had a runny nose and in summer, never bothered to wash his face. Naruto Uzumaki. Her fiancé. Life didn't make sense. And perhaps it never would. But even so, she had accepted the proposal, for him. Because she didn't care about execution. She'd made her peace. She had lived in vengeance, bathed in blood and regret. She had tried to kill the very hands that had reached out for her. She had broken more than bones, she had broken trust, faith, hearts. But he, Naruto, he never let go. And she knew, if she died, a part of him would too. Not his body. His spirit. So, yes, maybe it was selfish. Maybe she didn't deserve him. But if saving herself would keep him whole, then she would do it. For him. Just for him. The door creaked open. Sasuke turned sharply, muscles tense, until she saw the Anbu enter. A slender figure, face hidden behind a feline mask. Silently, the Anbu wheeled in a tall frame draped in a long cloth. What's that? Sasuke asked, voice flat. The Anbu said nothing, merely stepped aside. Sasuke rose, brows furrowing as she gripped the veil and pulled it aside. Her breath caught. It was white. Pure white silk, aged by time yet lovingly preserved. Embroidered cranes across the hem. A sash the color of plum wine. The scent, faint but unmistakable, of camellia and sandalwood. It was her mother's wedding kimono. Why? She asked quietly, more to herself. The Anbu finally spoke. Uzumaki-san insisted. Sasuke turned slowly. Lord Hokage personally fetched it from the Uchiha clan vault, the Anbu added, before vanishing like mist. Sasuke stared at the fabric for a long, long time. Then, wordlessly, she reached out, brushing her fingers over it, ghosts of memory dancing in every thread. A child's dream. A mother's smile. A brother's shadow. And now, Naruto. That loud, foolish, golden idiot. She exhaled. TCH. Baka. Naruto tossed and turned in his futon, eyes wide open in the dark, heart drumming like war drums before battle. The stars outside blinked above Konoha, silent witnesses to a boy who never dreamed his life would turn like this. Marriage. Tomorrow. Too fast. Too unreal. He'd sent out letters, invites scrawled with urgency and chicken scratch handwriting, to those who mattered. Konohamaru, Shikamaru, Gaara, even Killer Bee. But they were scattered, some at borders, others in missions. It was too soon. It was too much. His eyes burned. He closed them. Eventually, the wave of exhaustion dragged him down. He opened his eyes and found himself in a sun-dappled room that smelled like old paper and warm miso. Two figures sat before him. His breath caught. Mom. Dad. Naruto, Minato said, smiling, arms open. Why you guys? Naruto launched himself forward, hugging them both in one huge, trembling squeeze. He hadn't realized how much he needed this until now. Minato chuckled, brushing Naruto's hair. I never thought my son would lose his bachelor status before he turned into a proper adult. Oh, Minato. Kushina wailed, crying loudly into her husband's Haori. He's marrying Makoto's little girl. Our families are finally connected. Oh, I'm so happy, I could punch the moon. Naruto pulled back, blinking. Wait, you know about that. You're okay with it. Okay. Kushina sniffed. Sasuke's perfect. A little rough, but strong, loyal, intense, just like me. You chose well, sweetie. I think she's forcing herself, Naruto muttered, shoulders slumping. She doesn't care about dying. I think she just doesn't want me to hurt. Minato's eyes softened. Maybe. But that only proves she cares. She's not the kind to bend for anything, unless it matters. Kushina wiped her nose again, onto Minato's other sleeve. And it's so obvious she likes you. She's just emotionally constipated, that's all. Yeah, Minato added with a grin. Besides, no one else is worthy of her. Naruto blinked. Huh. You gave blood for her, Minato said. You chased her through hell and back. You never gave up on her. You already married your soul to hers years ago. I guess. Naruto looked down, unsure. Minato gently took his shoulder. Listen. A few things. When she's angry, let her win the argument. When she's quiet, just sit with her. When she's tired, cook for her, or at least try. And when she looks away, that's when she needs you most. The door suddenly burst open with a blast of smoke and drama. Ha 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 ha. Did someone say marriage? Naruto's jaw dropped. Pervy sage. Your one and only godfather has arrived. Jiraiya swept into the room, striking a ridiculous pose. Naruto jumped up and tackled him into a hug. I wish this was real, Naruto whispered, voice catching. Jiraiya grinned, tapping his forehead. It is real, in here. He handed Naruto a tattered, shiny covered book. Ika Ika Nuptial Night. This'll guide you through the honeymoon. Jiraiya. Kushina roared, snatching the book and hurling it into a dream bonfire that exploded in pink flames. You perverted toad. Minato was silently trying not to laugh. Kushina then grabbed Naruto's cheeks and smooshed his face. You listen here, Buster. You treat that girl right. With respect, with patience, with ramen. Ramen. I want 5 grandkids at least, and name them after ramen, you know. Shoyu, miso, tonkatsu, chashu. Mom. They all laughed. The room started fading. Naruto looked around, eyes wide. No. Wait, don't go. One by one, they hugged him. Jiraiya ruffled his hair. Kushina kissed his forehead. Minato gripped his shoulders. And then, sunlight. Real and bright, streaming into the real world. Naruto sat up, breathing hard, hand reaching for air. But a smile crept onto his face. Today was the day. Sasuke lay in the wide guest bed, staring at the ceiling above her. The shadows in the corners of the room felt too quiet, too still. The bed was soft, too soft, and the silk sheets whispered every time she shifted. But her mind was louder. Tomorrow, she'll be married. She had fought wars, faced down the 5 cage, betrayed nations and walked through fire. But this, the stillness before something she couldn't fight, unsettled her in a way even Madara never could. The chakra threads of the Anbu were still humming faintly above the walls. Watching her, always watching. But even that didn't matter. Her mind refused rest. So, she turned to an old technique, one she hadn't used since she was a child, when the screams in her head wouldn't let her sleep. She weaved her fingers through seals and gently cast a genjutsu, this one soft and dreamlike, on herself. And then, the world shifted. She opened her eyes. Wooden walls. The faint scent of tatami mats. A paper lantern glowing dim in the corner. Her breath caught. She knew this house. The air buzzed with the sound of summer cicadas. The faint smell of stew wafted from the kitchen. Her home. Not the one rebuilt from ashes. But the one that lived before the massacre. Sasuke stood, barefoot, walking toward the sliding door she remembered by heart. She pushed it open. And there they were. Itachi sat with their mother, Makoto, gently slicing peaches and smiling like the weight of the world had never rested on his shoulders. Fugaku sat stiff and proud, his arms crossed, but not unkind. His eyes softened when he saw her. For a moment, she stood frozen in the doorway. Then Makoto rose, eyes misting. Sasuke. Mom. Makoto crossed the room in a heartbeat and wrapped her arms around her daughter. My little girl. Itachi was next, pulling her close, his hand on her head the way he used to when she'd scrape her knees. Sasuke. You've grown so much. Her throat tightened, but the tears wouldn't fall yet. She was afraid that if she blinked, they would disappear. And then Fugaku rose. He looked at her long and hard. There was silence between them, thick and uncertain. Then, with a small exhale, he stepped forward and drew her into a strong embrace. You've returned, he said simply. Is this real? Sasuke whispered. Is this a genjutsu? A dream? You're all gone. Itachi shook his head gently. Even if we're gone from the world, we're always with you. You carry us through every step, Makoto whispered, brushing Sasuke's bangs back like she was 5 again. You are not alone, not ever. Sasuke dropped to her knees, bowing her head until it touched the floor. Forgive me, she choked. I made mistakes. So many. I lost myself. I almost destroyed the world you died for. Fugaku's voice stopped her. You lived. That is enough. You stumbled, Makoto said. But you rose again. You made hard choices, my dear. Itachi knelt beside her, his voice soft. And when you had no one, you stood anyway. That is strength. Sasuke lifted her head, eyes wet. I don't deserve to be forgiven. But we forgive you anyway, Makoto said, cupping her face. Because you are ours. Because you endured. Fugaku cleared his throat. Now that the tears are over, he said gruffly, let us address the elephant in the room. Sasuke blinked. What? Marriage, Fugaku said. To Naruto Uzumaki. How utterly nauseating. Dear, Makoto murmured, jabbing him with an elbow. I stand by my words, Fugaku said. That boy has no manners. No lineage. And he eats ramen like a wild dog. Dad. Fugaku raised a hand, silencing her. But, I have observed him. And while he is loud, foolish, and often acts without thought, he has earned my reluctant respect. Makoto smiled softly. He loves you, Sasuke. Sasuke turned away slightly, ears pink. He doesn't. He does, Itachi cut in gently. He chased you across nations. He bled for you. He never stopped believing in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. That's more than love, Makoto said. That's devotion. Fugaku folded his arms again. That doesn't mean I approve entirely. However, I accept it. If he treats you poorly, I will haunt him personally. Dad. One condition, Fugaku added, raising a brow. The children. Ensure they carry the Uchiha name, especially the ones who awaken the Sharingan. Sasuke coughed. Children. I'm not imposing, he said firmly. But the revival of the clan rests on your shoulders. You are the last. I expect 5 grandchildren. 5. Sasuke's voice rose an octave. At least, Makoto added sweetly. Please don't encourage this, Sasuke muttered. I think you'll be a wonderful mother, Makoto said. Just, maybe don't teach them Chidori as toddlers. Itachi chuckled softly. And don't let them bite people, like you did with that civilian boy when you were 6. Sasuke groaned. You remember that? I remember everything, Itachi smirked. You were always wild, Makoto said with a fond smile. Strong-willed. And so stubborn. You've never needed anyone. But I'm glad you found someone you can lean on. I still don't think I deserve it, Sasuke admitted. You don't have to deserve love to receive it, Itachi said gently. Sometimes, you just have to accept it. Let yourself be loved, Makoto whispered. Let yourself live. They pulled her into one last embrace, warm and strong in everything she thought she had lost. For a heartbeat, she wanted to stay. She wanted to forget the world and sleep in this moment forever. But the light behind them began to shift. Itachi stepped back. Makoto kissed her forehead. Fugaku gave a final nod. Make us proud. And then, Sasuke's eyes opened. Morning light pooled through the window. The veil over the kimono still hung by the corner, catching the golden glow. Her body felt heavy, but her heart was steady. The apartment was loud before Naruto had even stepped out of the shower. Oi, Kiba, don't knock down his ramen stash. Came Choji's voice, half laughing, half panicked. Man, how does one guy even eat this much? I swear this is a fire hazard, Kiba muttered, pulling aside a stack of instant ramen cups. Ramen has spiritual value for Naruto, Shino said, arms crossed, standing stiffly near the doorway like a guardian bug. Lee was already in the middle of setting up the drinks. Glasses of JoJo brand soft drinks, the carbonated kind that popped in your mouth with bubbles that changed flavors. Naruto didn't drink alcohol, and they respected that. Sort of. Kiba had tried to sneak in a little sake, but Shino had confiscated it. To Naruto's youth, Lee cried, lifting his glass. May this new chapter be full of passion, growth, and eternal love. To youth, Kiba echoed, clinking his glass. To barbecue, Choji mumbled, following suit with a nod. The bathroom door opened with a hiss of steam. Naruto stepped out, hair damp, towel slung over his neck. He was shirtless, still drying his arms when he saw the gathering. Huh. He blinked. What the hell, what time is it? It's still early, Kiba said, grinning. But it's your wedding day. You didn't think we'd just let you stumble into it without a send-off, did you? I thought you guys would show up at the ceremony, not like this. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, half embarrassed, half touched. Thanks, though. You better sit down, man, Kiba said, tossing him a glass. Got some world-class tips for you. Naruto caught it, confused. Tips. Wedding night stuff, Kiba said with a wolfish grin. Listen, first of all, you gotta look cool when you open the door to your shared room. Walk in like a lion. Don't trip over the futon like I did that one time at the bathhouse. You've never been on a date, Kiba, Shino stated flatly. I've been on a few almost dates, okay. Shut up. Lee was nodding too enthusiastically. It is important to maintain perfect breath control. During moments of heightened romantic tension, focus on your chakra flow through the lungs. Naruto blinked. What does that even mean? Just focus on breathing. In through the nose, out through the passion, Lee said, very seriously. I'm not sure that's helpful, Naruto muttered, sipping his soda. Shino stepped forward and handed him a small scroll. My clan prepared this for you. It contains a traditional wedding blessing from our elders. Also, I added a few betel oils for calming anxiety. Use sparingly. Thanks, Shino. Choji leaned over and handed him a neatly folded paper. Here. A free 1-month coupon for unlimited Akamichi barbecue. Only valid with you and your wife. Naruto's eyes widened. Whoa. Are you serious? Choji nodded. Weddings are a big deal. Thought you'd need it. Man, thanks. Naruto held the coupon like it was sacred scripture. Sasuke might not like barbecue, though. She doesn't have to eat. Just bring her with you. The deal only applies to couples. Before anyone could make another toast, the door opened again, this time to a sharp knock and the sound of a sigh. Shikamaru stood at the threshold, carrying a bag in one hand and looking like he hadn't slept. All right. This is a drag, but the Hokage told me to deliver this. Hey, Shikamaru. Naruto greeted him with a big grin. Come to crash the party. More like get you dressed before you show up in your pajamas. He handed over the bag with a grunt. Naruto opened it and pulled out a neatly folded traditional wedding outfit. The black outer yukata was made from fine silken fabric, detailed with gold thread that shimmered subtly in the light. The sleeves were slightly wide, the hems embroidered with cloud patterns. Beneath it was a white underlayer, stiff and formal. The sash was deep crimson, symbolizing vitality and strength, tied with a golden thread, meant to bring luck in marriage. A pair of white tabi socks and lacquered zori sandals completed the outfit, along with a formal hakama skirt of black and gray vertical stripes. Whoa, Naruto said, blinking. This is fancy. It's traditional, Shikamaru said. The same style the old clans used. The Uzumaki clan crest is sewn into the inside lining. Everyone went quiet for a moment. Naruto held the fabric tighter. Thanks. No thanks needed. Let's just get this over with, Shikamaru muttered, stepping in and rolling up his sleeves. Kiba, Choji, don't just stand around like scarecrows. Help me get him dressed. The next half hour was chaos. Kiba kept messing up the folds. Choji was trying not to wrinkle the hakama. Lee was shouting motivational quotes while trying to tie the sash with extra passion. Shino eventually had to step in and adjust everything with quiet precision. Naruto stood in the middle of the room, arms out like a training dummy, his expression somewhere between amused and panicked. This is tighter than I thought, he muttered as Shikamaru adjusted the collar. You'll get used to it. Ceremony's only a few hours. After that, you can change. Naruto looked down at himself once they were done. He almost didn't recognize the guy in the mirror. Clean lines. Poised shoulders. No bandages. No dirt on his cheeks. No orange anywhere. Just black, red, gold, and a new beginning. Whoa, he muttered. I look like someone else. You look like a man, Shino said simply. You look like someone who's about to start a family, Choji added with a grin. You look like a dashing hero from a love drama. Lee cried, tears shining in his eyes. A true romantic warrior. You look like an idiot who's about to pass out if he doesn't stop fidgeting, Shikamaru added. Naruto laughed, finally relaxing. Thanks, guys. Really. He looked around, at the faces that had stood beside him through childhood, battle, heartbreak, and victory. This was his family. Even if they bickered. Even if they were weird. All right, he said, rolling his shoulders. Let's go. Kiba slung an arm over his shoulder. Ready to be the first one of us to tie the knot. Naruto grinned. Ready as I'll ever be. Outside, the sun was rising over the village, warm and bright. And Naruto Uzumaki was walking into it, not as a boy chasing a dream, but as a man stepping into something real. Naruto didn't expect this many people. No, not even close. He had expected a crowd, sure. Some villagers, maybe his friends, a few shinobi from other nations, but this was overwhelming. The entire village of Konoha had turned up. The crowd overflowed beyond the wedding grounds, spilling into nearby rooftops and trees. Kids sat on shoulders, old people clutched their canes and craned their necks for a better view. Lanterns floated above, swaying gently in the summer breeze. Flags fluttered with the Uzumaki swirl and Uchiha fan, entwined in a rare symbol of unity. Even people from distant lands had come, travelers, dignitaries, merchants, even ex-nin who had once fought in the war. Naruto stood near the altar, heart pounding beneath his black ceremonial yukata. It was hot under all those layers. Not just heat. Nerves. That bone-deep, stomach-churning kind of nervousness that even war hadn't stirred in him. It's just a wedding, he whispered to himself. My wedding. Konohamaru was zooming around with a big camcorder, documenting everything like a man on a mission. Smile, boss. He yelled while filming Naruto's back, then darted away before Naruto could turn around and scold him. Fangirls tried to swarm him, screaming his name, crying about broken hearts, shouting things like, "Why her? Why not me? Uzumaki-kun, you've ruined my life. Is she prettier than me?" Security had to cordon off the section just to keep them from mobbing him. Poor Shino and a few Anbu were stuck keeping them away. Naruto could only sweat and chuckle nervously. He wasn't used to being popular. Nobles lined up in elegant rows, each with a gift box wrapped in brocade silk, each eager to shake his hand or bow stiffly with reverence. Naruto had to bow back so many times, his back was starting to cramp. Even the fire daimyo's own son, future ruler of the land of fire, stepped forward to offer his congratulations with a formal smile. Your courage has not only saved the world but inspired nobility to see Shinobi in a new light, he said. It is an honor to witness your union. Naruto bowed so low his nose nearly touched the floor. Thanks a lot, your highness. But it was when he saw Gaara that Naruto's heart leapt. The Kage walked through the crowd with his usual silent grace, his red hair catching the sun like flame. Tamari followed behind him, fan folded under her arm, and Kankuro trailed after, already looking annoyed with the ceremonial robes he was forced to wear. Gaara. Naruto called, eyes lighting up. Gaara gave him a faint smile. I couldn't miss this. I didn't think you'd come all the way from Suna. This is a historic event, Gaara said. And you are, my first friend. I wouldn't be anywhere else. Naruto grinned, and they clasped forearms in a silent brotherhood that went deeper than words. From the Raikage's side, Darui and Samui had come. Darui gave a nod and a lazy salute. Samui avoided Naruto's gaze entirely. Probably because the last time they met, she had coldly backhanded him when he'd sobbed at her feet, begging for Sasuke's pardon. Naruto gave her an awkward smile. She looked away, stiff as a kunai. The most surprising arrival, though, was none other than the Mizukage, Mai Terumi herself. Draped in an exquisite aquamarine kimono, she glided through the crowd with her usual blend of elegance and veiled menace. Behind her trailed her loyal blue-haired swordsman, Chojuro or Chosuro or something, still visibly nervous as he eyed every corner. You clean up well, Naruto-kun, Mai said with a wink, her glossy lips curving into a smile. If I had known you'd grow up into such a fine man, I might have kidnapped you to mist. Naruto coughed, face turning beet red. Thank you, but I think I'm good here. She laughed, that soft, dangerous laugh that made even Jonin sweat. But that wasn't the end of it. Kuretsuchi, the future Tsuchikage, arrived in a bold red robe and promptly smacked Naruto on the back hard enough to make him stumble. Damn, she said with a grin. Didn't think the class clown would land someone like her. Gotta say, I'm a little jealous. Don't flirt with the groom, Shikamaru muttered from behind, adjusting Naruto's collar for the umpteenth time. Kuretsuchi winked at Naruto anyway. If she ever dumps you, you know where I'm at. I'm good, Naruto stammered. She winked again, then walked off laughing. The sun was rising high now, warm golden beams slicing through the trees, catching on silk banners and ornaments. Music started, a slow, traditional melody played on koto and shakuhachi, and the crowd grew quiet, almost reverent. Naruto's hands were clammy. He wasn't afraid. He'd been through pain, blood, loss, and war. He wasn't scared of life or death. But he was nervous. About her. Would she change her mind? Would she hate this? Would she resent him? Then, the stair gates at the far end of the courtyard slowly began to part. The crowd hushed. People moved aside. Heads turned. A clear path opened up through the gathered masses. And then, stepping into the golden light, surrounded by kunoichi escorts, was Sasuke Uchiha. For a moment, Naruto forgot to breathe. She looked ethereal. The white wedding kimono flowed around her like clouds draped in moonlight. Layers of hand-woven silk shimmered subtly with a pearlescent sheen, tied together with an obi of indigo and soft silver. The sleeves brushed the ground, each movement of her walk a gentle wave of restrained grace. Her slender frame was accentuated not by tightness but by poise, every step dignified, regal, almost unreal. Her hair, usually short and wind-roughened from missions, was longer now, let down and lightly curled at the ends, cascading over her shoulders like night spilling over snow. One side was neatly pinned with a small crystal hair ornament in the shape of the Uchiha fan. Soft bangs framed her face, but the left side had grown longer, falling carefully over her left eye, hiding the Rinnegan from view. That, Naruto realized, had probably been her decision. To show she wasn't a shinobi today. Just a bride. The red eyeliner around her eyes made her gaze sharper, more striking. Her lips were tinted pale pink, just enough to contrast her porcelain skin. She wore no excessive jewelry, no extravagant crown. She didn't need it. She carried herself like a queen walking through a battlefield of awe. And though her face was calm, emotionless even, Naruto saw it. A faint twitch of her fingers at her side. The tiny rise of her chest from a breath she hadn't meant to take. She was nervous too. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She didn't look at the crowd. Her eyes were locked on one thing only. Him. Naruto's breath hitched. His heart beat louder than the koto in the background. Every word of advice, every foolish tip from Kiba or Lee, every line of ceremony he'd rehearsed with Shikamaru evaporated from his head. There was no war. No Hokage duty. No weight of the world. Just her. Sasuke. And she was walking to him. The music softened to a warm, ceremonial tune as Sasuke walked gracefully through the stone path of flower petals. Anbu silently stepped aside to allow her through. Her every footstep was measured, composed, regal. And though her face betrayed no emotion, inside her chest, her heart was beating hard enough to break ribs. Naruto stood at the altar, trying not to fidget like an idiot. When she drew close enough, Kurenai and Ino, her bridesmaids in formal wear, gently gestured her up the small steps to the main stage. She moved forward, face still blank as paper. But her fingers were slightly trembling, and Naruto caught that detail in one fast glance. So he wasn't the only one feeling like a bomb was going off inside his chest. From the other end, Tuki, dressed neatly in a pressed brown haori, and Iruka, clad in formal Jonin dress robes, took Naruto by the shoulders and began walking him up the stage too. "You're doing fine," Iruka whispered with a proud smile, hand warm and steady on his shoulder. "Breathe slowly. And stand tall. Make sure you don't faint, kid," Tuki said with a quiet grin. "I've got your ramen when this is over." Naruto gave a tight, shaky laugh. "Thanks." And then he was there. On the stage. Beside her. Sasuke stood like carved ice, poised, unshakable. Naruto, in his black wedding yukata with golden red linings representing the Uzumaki crest, fidgeted with the edges of his sleeves. He looked at her. She was so close. Closer than he had imagined in his worst or best dreams. Naruto cleared his throat and whispered, "You look cool. Cool. Cool." He wanted to punch himself. Sasuke didn't look at him. Her eyes stared ahead at the crowd. Her voice, when it came, was low. "You told Kakashi about this kimono." Naruto blinked, then rubbed his neck, sheepish. Yeah, I'm sorry, I may have overstepped. It's just, I remembered you once said it belonged to your mom, and I thought. Thanks. Wait. What? Still, she didn't turn to look at him. But he caught the faint twitch at the corner of her mouth. Something between a smile and a smirk, quickly extinguished. Before he could say more, Kakashi stepped up onto the platform. He was dressed formally, for once without his mask, though his headband still rested over one eye. His silver hair, though still unruly, had been brushed back to some degree, and he stood with surprising dignity. The crowd stilled as he lifted a small scroll, clearing his throat. My name, Kakashi began, is Hatake Kakashi. 6th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, and the luckiest, most exasperated sensei the village has ever known. A chuckle rippled through the crowd. I want to begin by thanking each and every one of you. To the lords and ladies, village heads and shinobi leaders, honored guests and precious villagers who have come today from across the elemental nations, your presence here is not only humbling, it's historic. Thank you for honoring us. He gave a deep bow, and the crowd responded with a respectful hush. Kakashi straightened, eyes soft as he looked at the couple before him. Now, I was once the leader of a very unusual team. Team 7. A team of 3 genin who could not have been more different. One was a loudmouthed, knuckle-headed prankster with no sense of restraint and an even worse sense of direction. The other, an elite, top-ranked genius from one of the most feared clans in the world, stoic as a statue and cold as a snowfield. And between them, chaos. Constant chaos. Another wave of laughter washed over the crowd. Naruto rubbed his neck and looked down, grinning bashfully. Sasuke exhaled, just barely, but her brow rose a millimeter. They fought like brothers. And not in the sweet, family dinner kind of way. No. More like the break an entire training ground, destroy half a mountain kind of way. Louder laughter now, even a few whistles. Naruto chuckled. Sasuke's eyes narrowed slightly in a way that meant Kakashi should probably tread lightly. They chased each other for years. Through war zones, through ruins, through pain, grief, betrayal, madness, even through the heart of the world itself. One ran. The other chased. And sometimes, they switched roles. Silence followed that line. Kakashi's voice had softened. But no matter how far they went, their paths always circled back to each other. Because they were never really enemies. They were always reflections, of pain, of love, of hope. Brothers, not by blood, but by something stronger. They were rivals, yes. But more than that, they were bound. Naruto looked at Sasuke. Sasuke didn't look at him, but her fingers curled at her side. Kakashi continued, his tone more personal now. I used to worry that they would destroy each other. I watched them clash so many times I thought I'd grow old between jutsu sequences. But now, I realize something. He looked directly at the crowd. Then back to Naruto and Sasuke. They were never trying to destroy each other. They were just trying to understand each other. And today, they stand here, not as enemies, not even as shinobi, but as 2 souls who chose each other in the end. Choose peace. Choose to live. Sasuke looked down, her lips pressed in a tight line. Naruto stood straighter now, listening with eyes slightly wide, hands still at his sides. Kakashi allowed the silence to settle. And yes, he added dryly, before any of you ask, they are both under 19. And yes, they are tying the knot. And no, I didn't expect it either. Laughter exploded across the courtyard. But if 2 of the strongest, most complicated shinobi of their generation want to get married, who am I to say no? Kakashi chuckled. Frankly, I'm just glad they're not fighting each other over a volcano this week. Naruto couldn't help it. He laughed too. Even Sasuke's lips curled, if barely. Kakashi smiled. So, with the blessings of the people, of the clans, and of the gods, may this union mark not just the healing of old wounds, but the beginning of something stronger. Something neither war nor pain could tear apart. He spread his hands open toward the altar. With my permission as the officiant, and my pride as their former sensei. May the ceremony commence. Naruto stood there, stiff as stone, trying not to visibly sweat through his formal wedding yukata. The sun was bright, the wind soft, and the entire village, and several other villages, judging by the accents and banners, watched in eager silence as the wedding ritual continued. Then came the moment he wasn't ready for. The ring, the ceremonial master said. Groom, please present the ring to your bride. Naruto blinked. What? Panic flared across his face. Ring. Ring. He looked down at his hands, sleeves, pockets. Why did formal clothes have no pockets? He was just about to consider using a shadow clone to run to Ichiraku's and get a noodle as a makeshift ring when, mercifully, a hand tapped his side. Here, Shikamaru muttered from the side of the stage, handing over a small black box. You forgot this. I love you, man, Naruto whispered, snatching it like it was a lifeline. Opening it, his breath caught. Inside was a modest silver band, but etched into it was something that made his chest clench, a swirling red Uzumaki spiral and a black Uchiha fan, perfectly balanced. Simple, yet meaningful. Sasuke looked at the ring, then at him. Her expression remained unreadable, but something in her eyes softened, just a flicker. Naruto awkwardly took her hand, his fingers brushing against her cool, slender ones. She didn't flinch. He swallowed and slipped the ring onto her finger, not quite trusting himself to speak. Done. Phew. He let out a silent breath of relief. Now, said the officiant, a balding, wise-looking elder dressed in traditional robes, we proceed with the Tea of Unity ritual, as per Fire Country's ancient customs. From the sidelines, Uruka stepped forward holding a small lacquered tray. On it was a single porcelain cup, filled with gently steaming green tea. Uruka knelt before the couple, his face full of quiet pride. It is tradition, he explained gently, that the bride and groom sip from the same cup. To show harmony, balance, and mutual acceptance. Naruto reached for it, and then froze halfway. Wait. Same cup. He looked at Sasuke. Indirect kiss. His face immediately turned 10 shades redder. Sasuke didn't say anything. She merely raised an eyebrow, waiting. He could almost hear her voice in his head saying, "You're the idiot who proposed this. Drink the damn tea." So, he took the cup first and sipped. Then handed it to her, fingers brushing hers again. She sipped as well, without hesitation. The cup was returned to Uruka, and he bowed, stepping back. The officiant cleared his throat and turned to the ceremonial scroll. He began to read aloud, verses written in the archaic style of old Fire Country weddings. May the flame of union burn gently in the storm. May the wind of fate not tear the roots of this bond. May you walk side by side, even where paths grow wild. Naruto leaned slightly toward Sasuke and whispered, "Wow, that's really poetic." Sasuke's voice was flat. "It's standard." He grinned. "Still kinda nice, though." The officiant continued, then turned another page. He paused. "Ah. And now, do you, Sasuke Uchiha, accept the symbol of your marriage from Naruto Uzumaki as?" The man squinted. "As, ultra super rare golden ramen cup from Demon Country." A long silence followed. People in the crowd leaned forward, confused murmurs starting to stir. Naruto's eyes widened. Oh crap, I forgot to change that." The officiant turned to him slowly. Is this a mistake?" Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. "I didn't have time, so I kinda grabbed the closest valuable thing I had on me. And it was this ultra-rare ramen cup I won on a mission in Demon Country." The man pinched the bridge of his nose. "Very well. Then let us proceed." He turned back to Sasuke. "Do you, Sasuke Uchiha, accept this ultra-super-rare golden ramen cup from the Demon Country as your symbol from Naruto Uzumaki?" Sasuke was silent for a second. Naruto held his breath. "I accept," she said coolly. Naruto's heart thudded. The officiant nodded, almost relieved. He turned to Naruto. Do you, Naruto Uzumaki, son of Minato Namikaze, accept Sasuke Uchiha, daughter of Fugaku Uchiha, as your wife? Naruto, still frazzled by the ramen cup incident, barely managed a coherent, yes. The officiant nodded and turned again. Does she, Sasuke Uchiha, daughter of Fugaku Uchiha, accept Naruto Uzumaki, son of Minato Namikaze, as her husband? I do, she answered clearly. There was something final about that voice. Strong. Assured. The officiant checked his scroll. Now the rest. Naruto blinked. There's more. The officiant cleared his throat again, reading with practiced authority. Do you, Naruto Uzumaki, son of Kushina Uzumaki, accept Sasuke Uchiha, daughter of Makoto Uchiha, as your wife? Naruto blinked. Wait, didn't we just? Yes. Definitely, yes. He turned to Sasuke, wide-eyed. And do you, Sasuke Uchiha, daughter of Makoto Uchiha, accept Naruto Uzumaki, son of Kushina Uzumaki, as your husband? Sasuke gave a small nod, her voice soft but clear. I do. Do you both accept each other as spouses forever? Naruto stammered, why yes. Yes, Sasuke said firmly. The officiant closed the scroll with a small thud and raised his hand. Then by the power of this village, its traditions, and your will, I declare you husband and wife. May your garden be full of flowers. Naruto blinked. We don't have a garden. May your garden be full of flowers, the man said with finality. Naruto shut up. Now, the man smiled faintly, turning back to the couple, you may kiss. Naruto froze. His feet rooted themselves into the stage. His eyes widened. Lips parted. He turned ever so slowly toward Sasuke. But she didn't wait. She stepped forward. Fast. Purposeful. And before Naruto could finish even one of his 1,000 awkward thoughts, something soft, warm, and undeniably real pressed against his lips. It was just for a heartbeat. But the moment landed like a lightning strike. Gasps echoed. Then cheers. Then thunderous applause. From the crowd, Kiba whooped. Ino squealed. Lee punched the air. Choji clapped with his whole heart. Gaara, in his calm dignity, gave a respectful nod. Kakashi smiled, closing his eyes. And Naruto. He was pink as a peach. Still dazed. Still staring at her. Sasuke turned away as if nothing had happened, but the faintest tint of color touched the edge of her ears. And as the crowd exploded in cheers, and flower petals rained from above like spring snow, Naruto Uzumaki realized. He wasn't dreaming. He was married. To her. To Sasuke Uchiha. And somehow, despite everything, he was the happiest idiot in the world. The sun had dipped low, casting long golden shadows across the village. Paper lanterns swayed in the soft evening wind, and laughter echoed from all corners of the feast ground. Tables were packed from edge to edge, villagers and guests elbow deep in food, drink, and celebration. At the center of it all, beneath the large decorated tent at the head of the field, sat the bride and groom. Naruto sat stiffly, barely touching his chopsticks. He didn't feel real. Everything felt like a painting, or a genjutsu. Or a prank by Kami herself. He glanced sideways. Sasuke sat beside him, legs folded neatly beneath her pristine white kimono. She was eating soba with complete indifference, like she'd done this 1,000 times. Like she hadn't just married him to escape execution. Each bite she took was methodical, elegant, and somehow extremely threatening. Naruto swallowed hard. He hadn't even eaten yet, and it already felt like something was stuck in his throat. Inside his mindscape, Kurama was having a nervous breakdown. It's over. It's done. I'm ruined. Naruto barely blinked. What now? You married an Uchiha. The Uchiha who trapped me with her eyes. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? I'm the Nine Tails. The Great Fox. I should be feared, not married into. You're not married to anything, She married me, Naruto muttered under his breath. Semantics. You don't understand. The way she looked at me once, I still get hives thinking about it. Naruto sighed, resisting the urge to slam his forehead into the table. He hadn't eaten. His feet were sore. His yukata was tight around the waist. And Kurama was whining like a jilted cat. From the crowd, Konohamaru continued filming, while several fangirls waved dreamily at Naruto from the back rows, sighing as if he'd broken their collective hearts. None of it registered. His mind was mush. Why did she agree? Why so easily? And how was she so calm? A gentle voice beside him drew him out of the haze. Hey, Sakura. She stood to the side, tucking a lock of her pink hair behind her ear, a makeup brush in one hand, and an unsure smile on her lips. Mind if I check her face real quick? Naruto just nodded, grateful for the interruption. Sakura leaned over and began dabbing lightly around Sasuke's cheek, then her jaw. Your eyeliner's perfect, by the way. Didn't even smudge. Sasuke grunted in acknowledgement. Naruto blinked slowly, like a man waking from a long nap. Sakura. She looked over. Yeah. Is any of this real? Sakura paused, straightening. Yeah, it is. I mean, Naruto gestured vaguely at the feast, the kimono, the guests, Sasuke. This whole thing. It makes no sense. I proposed a fake marriage to save her life, and then she actually said yes. Then she kissed me. Then she drank the tea. Then she said, I do, 4 times. And now we're here. And I feel like I'm going to die. You're not going to die, Naruto. No, really. I might. I haven't eaten anything because if I eat, it'll make it real. And if it's real, then I'm married. And if I'm married, then I'm married to Sasuke. And if I'm married to Sasuke, then he lowered his voice to a whisper, might die in my sleep. Kurama snorted. You will. I'm definitely dying. You're next. Sakura bit her lip, stifling a chuckle. You're malfunctioning, she said plainly. Naruto rubbed his hands over his face. I don't know what's happening anymore. Sakura looked between him and Sasuke, then said, well, you're married. That happened. Naruto whimpered slightly. Sakura leaned down and said softly, it's all right, Naruto. She's not going to kill you. Right, Sasuke. They both turned to look at her. Sasuke blinked once, slowly, while still chewing a bite of rice. Silence. Not even a grunt. Sakura's smile faltered. All right. Sasuke picked up her tea and sipped. More silence. Right, Sakura said, backing away. Well, that's my cue. She quickly adjusted Naruto's collar, brushed a non-existent wrinkle from Sasuke's sleeve, and gave a half-nervous smile. You're doing great. Both of you. Just breathe, Naruto. You've faced down gods. You'll survive a wedding. Naruto looked up at her with glassy eyes. But I didn't marry Kagaya. Sakura snorted and patted his shoulder. I'm heading back to the medic table. If you pass out from nerves, I'll be nearby. Don't let her intimidate you too much. She already does. Fair. With that, Sakura made her exit, leaving behind a quiet air. Naruto exhaled heavily and looked around the feast. People were laughing, celebrating, and toasting. Kids were running around. Kiba was hitting on someone. Ino was taking selfies with the Mizukage. Tamari was yelling at Kankuro to stop eating all the dumplings. Life was moving on. And here he sat, next to the girl who haunted his childhood, his dreams, and his battles. Sasuke, without turning to him, finally said, eat. Naruto flinched. What? You're going to pass out. I'm not hungry. You're lying. He looked down at the bowl of miso soup in front of him. His stomach rumbled. Traitor. Fine, he mumbled. He picked up his chopsticks and took a bite of rice. It tasted like anxiety. Then he reached for the soup. It helped. Slightly. Sasuke finished her plate with silent efficiency. Kurama, in the background, was still sulking. I want to file a complaint to the Sage of Six Paths. This is clearly spiritual harassment. Do you want me to feed you next? Sasuke asked dryly. Naruto nearly dropped his bowl. No. No, I'm good. I'm eating. Look. See. Chewing. Very happy man. Sasuke said nothing, but the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. Maybe she was amused. Or maybe plotting. He honestly couldn't tell. And Naruto realized. This was his life now. A terrifyingly unreadable wife. A sulking demon fox. Half the world is celebrating. And a bowl of cold rice. He took another bite. Well, at least it wasn't boring. The fire cracked and danced in ornate iron braziers placed around the ceremonial grounds. The feast had slowly begun to fade into a new phase, the traditional wedding dance. Music from flutes and shamisen drifted into the warm evening, echoing between the paper lanterns that shimmered like stars. The kunoichi had begun their performance, graceful, practiced, respectful. Sakura led them in a radiant pink kimono, while Ino twirled in blue, followed by Tenten in crimson, Tamari in pale lavender, and the others in a flutter of colors. They moved like waves in synchrony, elegant, disciplined, and powerful. For once, even the most hardened shinobi present gave pause, observing with genuine admiration. Naruto and Sasuke sat side by side, watching in silence. Naruto had finally begun to relax. A sliver of calm had nestled into his chest, not quite peace, but not full panic either. Sasuke, impassive, watched the dancers with her usual aloof grace, hands folded on her lap, her white wedding kimono pristine and soft in the lantern light. The Uchiha fan was subtly embroidered into the hem, her dark hair spilling down over one eye, hiding the Rinnegan. Then the crowd gently parted. Footsteps approached with purpose. Naruto's momentary calm shattered like glass. Kakashi came into view, not in his usual attire but in formal black and silver robes, his face half masked, hair immaculately brushed. Beside him were several others: Mei Terumi, Mizukage of the Mist, Kuretsuchi, future Tsuchikage, Darui of the Cloud, and Gaara, stoic as always, flanked by his siblings. And with them was a man Naruto didn't recognize. Middle-aged, thin-framed, with a tight bun of gray-streaked hair, dressed in robes adorned with the insignia of all 5 great nations, Shinobi Union. He approached Naruto and Sasuke with a formal bow. Congratulations, the man said with a polite smile. Uzumaki-san. Uchiha-san. On behalf of the Shinobi Union, allow me to extend our most formal blessings. Naruto blinked. Thanks. Kakashi nodded solemnly, his one visible eye serious. The man reached into his sleeve and drew out a tightly rolled scroll, the seal of the Union clear on the front. I am here to conclude formalities. The union between Uzumaki Naruto, hero of the 4th Great Ninja War, and Sasuke Uchiha, formerly of the Akatsuki and known international criminal, has consequences far beyond Konoha. He unrolled the scroll on the low table in front of them. The parchment stretched long and wide, detailed in fine ink. Naruto felt the back of his neck prickle. Sasuke remained unmoved. The man read aloud. Sasuke Uchiha, an SSS rank rogue shinobi from Konohagakure, who deserted the village at the age of 12, who sought asylum under rogue shinobi Orochimaru, who attempted assassination of multiple Kage at the 5 Kage summit in the Land of Iron, who joined the Akatsuki, who attempted a coup against the elemental nations by targeting the daimyo system and Kage infrastructure, is hereby officially pardoned. Naruto clenched his fists as murmurs rose from surrounding diplomats. The man continued without a flicker of emotion. Said pardon is granted solely on the basis of her voluntary union with Naruto Uzumaki, and upon the strict acceptance of the following conditions. She must remain married to Naruto Uzumaki. She must permanently resign from all shinobi-related duties, missions, and ranks. She is not to leave the confines of Konohagakure without prior approval from the Union Council and the Hokage. If she leaves her residence, she will be under constant surveillance. If at any time she exhibits signs of treason, she shall be executed immediately. A heavy silence fell over the courtyard. Even the music had stilled, as the last note hung in the air, unacknowledged. Naruto opened his mouth. This is. But before he could continue, Sasuke reached for the brush. With a smooth, fluid motion, she signed. No hesitation. No argument. Not a single question. Just ink and silence. The man gave a curt bow. Thank you. With that, the matter is concluded. He stepped back and disappeared into the shadows beyond the lantern light. Naruto sat frozen. You just signed it. Sasuke's voice was calm. They needed insurance. They got it. But I knew this was coming. Naruto couldn't argue. Deep down, so had he. Still, seeing it laid out in ink, that she could be executed, watched, shackled, felt like a betrayal. Kuretsuchi stepped forward next, arms crossed, lips curved in a faint smile, but her tone, razor sharp. Well, Uchiha, welcome back to the cage. Hope you enjoy your leash. Sasuke didn't flinch. Shouldn't you be busy trying not to blow yourself up? Cute. Kuretsuchi leaned closer. Just remember. One wrong move, and there won't be a village left to bury you in. Mei approached more slowly, her expression unreadable. You've caused pain to many of us, Uchiha, she said gently, almost wistfully. You tried to destroy the world. And now, you're marrying its light. Sasuke met her gaze. Your point. Break his heart, Mei said, lips curved with something between mirth and menace, and I'll boil you alive. Naruto's head whipped around. Can we not threaten the bride right now? Darui was next. He cracked his neck, eyes half-lidded as always, voice slow and dry. I haven't forgotten, he said. Land of Iron. You chopped off Isama's arm like it was nothing. You think marrying Naruto's gonna fix that? Sasuke tilted her head. You want me to sew it back? Darui sighed. No. Just, if you even think of betrayal, don't expect us to hesitate again. Gaara stepped forward last. Naruto stood, uncertain, but Gaara simply placed a hand on his shoulder and looked at Sasuke. Look after him, he said. Nothing more. Nothing less. Sasuke, for once, said nothing. Naruto nodded with relief. Thanks, Gaara. Then the moment passed. The visiting leaders dispersed, blending back into the feast. The music resumed, soft and tentative at first, then stronger. The kunoichi continued their dance, and the tension in the air slowly dissipated. Naruto sat back down beside Sasuke, the cushion beneath him suddenly uncomfortable. He leaned in. You didn't even flinch. You knew what that contract said. I told you, she said, calmly reaching for her tea, I knew this would happen. But they basically own you now. No, she said, sipping. They think they do. Naruto blinked. That's not reassuring. She tilted her head toward him, just slightly. Would you rather I said no? His throat tightened. Number. Then stop whining. And just like that, Naruto Uzumaki, hero of the world, sealed the legend of peace, shut up. Because in the end, the truth was plain. She didn't marry him for her freedom. She married him to protect him. Even if it cost her everything. 2 hours after the overwhelming feast, political threats disguised as polite diplomacy, and enough emotional whiplash to kill a less stubborn man, Naruto Uzumaki found himself unlocking the door to his apartment, with Sasuke Uchiha trailing silently behind him. The second the door creaked open, the cozy, familiar smell of instant ramen, cleaning spray, and warm wood greeted them. A sanctuary of cluttered peace. Sasuke, still in her white ceremonial kimono, stepped inside without a word. Her gaze wandered, cataloging the space, framed photos, the frog-shaped alarm clock, a half-packed ninja pouch on the table, an absurdly large toad plush in the corner. She moved to the couch and sat down, expression unreadable as usual. Naruto scratched the back of his head, kicking off his sandals. He glanced over at her, then at the kitchen, then back at her again. Ramen. He offered, gesturing awkwardly toward the pantry. I mean, not for any particular reason, just, habit. Sasuke turned her head slowly and gave him a flat, unimpressed look. He raised his hands. All right, just checking. She looked away. The silence settled like dust. Naruto, still trying to not combust from residual ceremony tension, gestured toward the hallway. Anyway, you should, freshen up. Change out of that thing. Must be heavy, right? She raised a brow. You have clothes, right? Sasuke didn't answer. Oh, you don't. Naruto paled. Crap, I didn't think of that. You've been, in prison. Or, on probationary confinement under diplomatic scrutiny. He forced a chuckle that died halfway. Still silent. Naruto rushed to the side closet, pulling out a wooden box. These are, clothes from the Uchiha vault. My mom stored them after, yeah. They're yours now. He held out a folded dark gown, simple, but elegant. Black silk, crimson accents. Traditional Uchiha make. Sasuke looked at it, then at him. She took it without a word and disappeared into the bathroom, the soft click of the door shutting leaving him alone. Naruto exhaled and slumped against the wall. This is gonna be one weird night. He walked into his bedroom, and stopped dead in his tracks. There, standing proud and evil, was the bed. A king-size monstrosity of fluffy pillows, soft sheets, and rose petals, and sakura petals. Real ones. What the? He shrieked. Where did these even come from? Was this Ino's doing? No, Kiba. Maybe Sakura's weird idea of fun. Or was this some sick prank by Kakashi? Either way, absolutely not. There was no way he could let Sasuke see this bed and think he had set this up. She'd fry him. He grabbed a pillow, a blanket, turned around, and nearly collided face first into her. Sasuke stood in the hallway, now changed. The gown fit her like water around stone, graceful, sharp, soft in unexpected ways. Her bangs were pushed to the side now, both eyes exposed, the Rinnegan dim, the other steady and clear. Naruto blinked, and then turned away quickly. Sorry. I didn't mean to, you startled me. She glanced at the pillow and blanket in his arms. I'll sleep on the couch, he blurted. You can take the bed. I'll clear it, there were petals. Not my idea. I swear. Sasuke stared at him. You want me to sleep on that? She said flatly, pointing toward the flowery nightmare bed. Fair point, Naruto muttered. Still, I can't let you sleep on the couch. I'm not a total jerk. Then give me a futon. I don't have one. Then I will sleep on the couch. Naruto shook his head. No, you sleep on the bed. I'll clean it up, don't worry. I said I'll sleep on the couch. You're the guest. You're the one who invited me. It was a political arrangement. They stood there, eyes locked, arguments teetering toward absurdity. Then Naruto smirked. All right, I'll sleep on the bed. Sasuke narrowed her eyes. No, I'll sleep on the, wait, what? Too late. Naruto had already slipped past her, still holding the pillow and blanket, and collapsed on the couch. Good night, he called out. Enjoy the bed of roses. She stood there, arms crossed, seething, though it was more exasperation than anger. After a long moment, she stepped into the bedroom, turned off the lights, and lay on the now mostly cleared bed. There were still a few stubborn petals scattered around, but she ignored them. The silence stretched again, this time softer, deeper. The moonlight filtered through the window, tracing gentle lines across the floorboards. Somewhere distant, a dog barked. Maybe Kiba's. Naruto stared at the ceiling of his living room, still in his yukata, eyes open. Kurama's voice rumbled in his head. You're a fool. I know. You had one bed. I noticed. And she's in it. Yep. You should have at least asked for half. Naruto rolled over and buried his face into the pillow. I'm not going to negotiate sleeping arrangements with Sasuke. I value my life. Kurama sighed, a deep fox-like grumble. You married a feral queen with enough chakra to level the moon. And now she's in your house, in your bed, and you're here sulking like a child. Naruto muffled his reply. I'm not sulking. You're sulking. There was quiet from the bedroom. No movement. No sound. She was probably asleep already. Or meditating. Or plotting a coup against the furniture. Eventually, Naruto's breath evened out. Not quite rest, but no longer war. In the bedroom, Sasuke opened her eyes slowly, staring at the ceiling. The scent of sakura petals was still in the air. She hated how familiar it smelled. Like old springs and soft disasters. She turned on her side, eyes drifting toward the sliver of light escaping under the door where Naruto slept. She didn't regret signing that scroll. Not because she believed in the peace it demanded, but because somehow, despite everything, this felt like a beginning. Not forgiveness. Not redemption. Just something real. And real was enough. So friends, this was episode 1 of this exciting alternate universe adventure. If you enjoyed it and want episode 2 soon, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also comment down your thoughts. Do you think Naruto and female Sasuke will become the strongest team in Konoha, or will their rivalry tear them apart? I'll see you in the next episode.